Chronicles of the Stellar Mecha War. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751. Today, the Information Room has been working hard on translation recently. They have specially joined forces with linguists and animal experts, but the rules of whale calls and H language have not been completely matched. Similar pronunciations and lengths do not represent the same meaning. After a long period of research, they added bands and frequencies to distinguish. In short, this process is very complicated and tedious, and a group of hacker bosses are also confused. Now that more than half of the breakthrough has been completed, the results have come out. Although it is not yet mature, the crude translation can be achieved. ZHU Kunjin pulled people over, and he also had the idea of whether he could use them. What is difficult for the Langsing people may not be difficult for the octopus people. When they travel in the interstellar, they will definitely encounter many life forms of other languages. There must be more convenient and faster communication methods or more mature translation systems between them. It's just that the octopus people have no need to communicate with the Langsing people, so they don't care about it. The Langsing people have this need, so they can only try to arouse their interest and see if they can get a little out of their fingers to facilitate their work. Sure enough, Ibutu took the bait. After looking at the latest results and observing Land Crossing's compilation method, he expressed his anxiety and volunteered to help. ZHU Kunjin's old face was as smiling as a chrysanthemum, and he just left Ibutu in the information room. Seeing this, Lin Fan even wondered if he had paranoid delusions and whether he should ask Jin Sichin to treat him. Of course, Antonio, who had always been a good friend of Ibutu, also stayed, acting as a translation tool and companion, responsible for keeping Ibutu happy. Lin Fan felt that these two people were dangerous people, and their power would be doubled when they were put together. Until she saw Wang Fengfeng greeted her with an excited face before leaving. Okay, it's not surprising that the information room exploded. She should not worry about these things, it's tiring. After a round, A lost interest and wanted to start the running water again. ZHU Kunjin had already prepared it. A 250 ml crystal bottle was handed out, and he kept repeating how precious the water was, how much more precious it was, and how little it would be used, while not forgetting to sing the everlasting friendship between the people of the two stars. Lin Fan's eyes were dazzled by the light reflected from the crystal, and he couldn't tell which was more expensive, the running water or the bottle. In comparison, the tempered glass bathtub that cost 800 yuan for song rent to take a bath was too casual. A got what he wanted and couldn't wait to go back to the spaceship for testing. Ours had nothing to do and had to go back to repair. No one mentioned Ibutu, so he was thrown into the special office to work. Lin Fan and ZHU Kunjin sent the people back along the original route. When they were sitting next to the high-speed rail car, they saw Mijao and the others who had arrived at an unknown time. After the people got on the spaceship, Mijao and the others sit at the subway entrance to watch the spaceship, and Lin Fan followed ZHU Kunjin back. No longer having to stare at the octopus man, Lin Fan finally breathed a sigh of relief, and a feeling of fatigue surged up. It was not physical fatigue, but mental fatigue. Tired? ZHU Kunjin looked at her with a smile, as if asking a younger generation who had returned home from work. Not really tired, it's just that I'm under a lot of pressure, and I'm always afraid that they will make mistakes. Lin Fan smiled embarrassedly. To be honest, I'm not worried about the spaceship, now that I have Teacher Me. As for Antonio, Lin Fan said, shaking his head slowly, laughing at himself, actually, I know that such worry is meaningless. It's okay, it's okay. ZHU Kunjin comforted with a smile. It's good to be vigilant. They are all dangerous people. They shouldn't be put in the information room. The information room of the Special Affairs Office is also a very important place. Even if there is a barrier, once an accident occurs, the loss will be very heavy. Not to mention other things, just the technicians inside. Even the gossip king like Wang Fengfeng are the top level in H country. Are you gambling again? Lin Fan pressed his forehead with one hand and leaned against the wall of the carriage. Maybe it's because I'm a Capricorn. I'm more conservative. I feel like you guys are always gambling. It's okay if you win the bet, but if you lose the bet, you lose everything. Lin Fan doesn't like this feeling of being unable to control and leaving your fate completely to others. She still likes to do what she can and take her fate into her own hands. Silly child. ZHU Kunjin smiled with a hint of helplessness. When the gap in strength between the two sides is too big, any choice is a gamble. The only difference is whether the weaker side is active or passive. Lin Fan did not speak. After all these days, she, as the first observer, knew the gap in ability between the octopus people and the Langsing people better than anyone else. If you fall behind, you will be beaten. This sentence is really a wise saying. Many times, I feel anxious. Lin Fan lowered his head. When can we have such high technology that we can do things we are unwilling to do without being forced by external forces? Did they want to receive the octopus people? No. Was it really the original intention of the Langsing people to take them to play on Langsing? No, it was more of a flattery with scruples. They actually didn't want to give them running water, but they had to give it. Then, what if the octopus people wanted something else and really touched their bottom line? Would they turn against each other? How to turn against each other? What to turn against? Perseverance and persistence? Or Xingqian and Apollo? After Grow, Langsing felt the urgency of backward development, but everyone also knows that the improvement of civilization is never achieved overnight, and it takes a long time to nurture. Even if they have the world tree as a cheat, they can't swallow the food they are forced to eat. It makes people anxious and helpless. By the way, how is the ugly woman recently? Thinking of the world tree, it is inevitable to think of the ugly woman. Is she in a better mood? As long as the barrier is not in a defensive state, the ugly woman who can move freely can basically communicate, but she has a bad temper and likes to curse. It's still the same. ZHU Kunjin also loves and hates the ugly woman, but she is more likely to explode than before. Maybe the octopus man is still on Langsing, and she is like you. It's hard to be at ease. The ugly woman is dedicated to guarding the world tree and Blue Star, and is afraid that other races and civilizations will get involved. The octopus man swaggers around Langsing, and Langsing has no ability to resist. The angrier and more anxious the ugly woman became, the more irritable she became. She scolded the people of Langsing from ancient times to the present day, scolding them for not working hard and not living up to expectations. After listening to this, Lin Fan actually agreed with her. If the ancestors had worked harder and developed technology earlier, they wouldn't be so passive, right? At least it would be better than it is now. Thinking about it, Lin Fan was so angry that he laughed at himself again. She is already so incompetent that she has to blame her ancestors. Wouldn't it be better to do more things that are conducive to development? What's wrong? ZHU Kunjin looked at Lin Fan, laughing and shaking her head, wondering what the girl was thinking of. Nothing, Lin Fan said, looking directly at ZHU Kunjin, after sorting out her thoughts. I just think that in order not to be scolded by future generations, we have to work harder. ZHU Kunjin looked at Lin Fan's shining eyes, which seemed to be shining with little stars, and grinned from the bottom of his heart. Yes, the heroes of the time are still to be seen. Chapter 752, Translation achieved. The test results of the living water came out the next day. It was indeed a good thing from a high-level civilization. The Langsing people had gotten used to seeing the test reports that looked like a book. They couldn't understand it. With Langsing's current capabilities, it was difficult to extract and utilize it. The lagging productivity was really frustrating. Fortunately, the looting incident they were worried about did not happen. The highly active ingredients were not very useful to the octopus people, who had regenerative functions. In addition, Langsing was remote and had limited resources. Living water was worse than chicken ribs for them. It was good that there was no demand. After the Lan Meng relaxed, they soon had new questions. If the octopus people had no demand for Langsing, what would they use to exchange for higher level resources? Yes, the Lan Meng was still thinking about getting some help from the octopus people. interstellar knowledge, biological implantation technology, and the language translation project that Ibuta was participating in were all good things that Langsing needed. After successfully solving the translation between H language and octopus language, Ibuta was probably excited, or maybe he was coaxed into happiness. Who knows? Now he is working on the mutual conversion between other interstellar languages and H language. Now the big guys in the information room of the Special Affairs Office are all eager to learn and surround Ibuta, and he is their only follower. It just so happens that the H language and octopus language translation chips have been completed, and each of these technology madmen has implanted them behind their ears. Ibuta also uploaded the translation file to their database, and now it has basically been realized that the two races can communicate with each other without direct contact. How great is this? Line crossing worked for more than a month, and the octopus people finished it in a few days. For such things, the more the better. But the people of Lanmeng also know that the octopus people can't always give without asking for anything. It's clear from Ma Yi's attitude that their race is not a selfless saint. If that's the case, it can't rely solely on the Mecha defense body to evolve into a high civilization. How does the saying go? The bottom of all civilization evolution is flesh and blood and bones. It's good enough that the octopus people are not aggressive in this line of work. If you want others to give you benefits continuously, you will definitely have to pay a price. But the dilemma now is that the other party seems to have no desires. Well, at first I was afraid of this and that, just afraid that the other party would have something they like. Now that the other party has no needs, the Lanmeng hopes that the other party wants something, preferably something they can afford, not worth much. Aoi sneered in his heart as he watched a group of people naively discuss various conditions that are better than Langsing. Have these guys been deceived by the peaceful appearance of the octopus people during this period? Do they treat them as poor creatures who can be controlled by their will? He was too lazy to talk to these idiots, but if the other party really has no needs, it would not be so easy to test the octopus genes and the conversion of the companion stone for the Langsing people, right? Aoi was worried, but Lin Fan was in a very good mood. Song Ren woke up on the third day after they left, and he had no obstacles in his movements. He was just not used to his current excellent nerves and was adapting. This is probably the best news Lin Fan has heard this year. No, in the past few years. In addition, the octopus people's alert was lowered again and again, and the translation system was completed, so they could finally return to normal social distance. In short, Lin Fan was very happy. A's interest in the living water basically disappeared after the component analysis was completed. He was impatient to wait for Ibuta to work, and took us to the place where he had fished before to continue his fishing trip. Lin Fan felt very wonderful when he saw it for the first time. The octopus was fishing, and he also took advantage of the convenience of many tentacles to set up a row of hanging rods. How to say it, anyway, it was quite fantasy. It seems that they did not learn nothing from coming to Langsing. The excellent culture of the fishermen was introduced to the interstellar before anything else. Sen Fangyuan was accompanying him, and Lin Fan had nothing to do, so she also got a fishing rod and followed him to fish. She didn't know how to fish, and she didn't have any natural interest in fishing, but she had good patience and could catch one or two hairy fish that were not much bigger than her little finger in the evening. For this reason, the usually cold A couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward to guide her. So Lin Fan became even more fantasy. Upon hearing the news that Song Ren had woken up, even Oz was not in a hurry to see him. Instead, he fished for 2 more days and maximumed out his skill bar before finally setting off. Only then did Lin Fan have a deeper understanding that they were octopuses. In the past, he only thought they looked alike, and there was no other connection. Now that he saw how obsessed they were with the fish, he finally had some connection. Oz and the others didn't care about Song Ren himself. They went to see him, just to see the results of an experiment, and they didn't care as much as Lin Fan did. When the spacecraft was above 800, Lin Fan actually felt a little nervous. She wanted to see a healthy Song Ren, but she was afraid that the current Song Ren was not what she imagined. Although Song Ren was well, he was still in the ward for the convenience of monitoring by the medical department. When Lin Fan and the others arrived, Song Ren was sitting on the bed, facing the window. The sunlight came in and coated his side with a layer of light golden light. He heard the movement, turned around, supported the bed, and stood up to look at the person who came. At that moment, Lin Fan's eyes were filled with tears, and he had to tilt his head back to force the tears back. Song Ren is still the same Song Ren. No matter what, she is still the same Song Ren. Lin Fan hid behind ours, but Song Ren still saw her at a glance, and her expression softened unconsciously, with the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Cui Yan and Sen Fangyuan still stood in front, and the two octopus people entered one by one, while Lin Fan and others stood in the back. The 800 people have already received the latest translation chip from the Special Affairs Office, and those who have direct needs, such as Cui Yan and Song Ren, have already been implanted. Lin Fan has seen it, and it is a thin chip that is a circle smaller than the thumbnail. She doesn't understand the specific working principle, but it can automatically convert alien language into H country language. Although there will be a delay of 1 or 2 seconds, it is still not inferior. Many people in the information room and 800 have been implanted, but Lin Fan and others have to work beside the octopus people, so for the sake of safety, they did not follow up at this stage, but interpreted through the headphones of Lan Meng. After knowing the convenience of this thing, Lin Fan said happily, with such a chip, why should we learn foreign languages in the future? Everyone can have one, and that's it. As a result, Zhu Kunjin looked at him like a prodigal and warned him that this thing was extremely expensive and not something that ordinary people could afford. Besides, ordinary people didn't have such an urgent need. Spending some time to learn a language well, or other skills that are permanently retained and can give back to oneself, is much more reliable than this kind of plug-in that costs a lot of money. Lin Fan thought about it, and it made sense. There are actually translation machines on Langsing, which are said to be effective, but the price is high, and it is indeed not affordable for ordinary people. After the communication problem was solved, communication became much more convenient. A took the report from the medical staff, asked about the various indicators, and was not very satisfied. Your health is too poor, he said with disgust. Song Ren's originally gentle expression suddenly became severe. He has been surrounded by the joy of regaining his ability to move these days, and it's not that he didn't see his soft body, but he had been lying down for several months before, and if it weren't for the people around him who kept massaging him, his muscles would have atrophied. He looked at himself very rationally, thinking that being able to stand up and adapt to a stronger nervous system was the most important thing, and everything else could be done slowly. But at this moment, the alien's words inadvertently hurt his self-esteem. When did he set such low standards for himself? Just because of what happened before. When he was shot in the knee and many people said that he could not stand up, what did he do? Why did he give up so easily now? When did he, Song Ren, become such a person who gives up easily? If he had not been depressed for so long, if he had always held on to hope and not given up, would his physical condition after recovery be much better? Song Ren had countless regrets in his heart, and in the end they all merged into a determination. It will be fine. He looked steadily into Yi's small eyes. Give me a month, and I will let you see the peak of my body. Chapter 753 Confident Song Ren. You're crazy. Lin Fan squeezed out from behind. You reach the peak in a month, and your body is just fine. You don't want it anymore? Lin Fan certainly knew how much improvement exceeding the limit would bring to the body. She herself was a beneficiary. But Song Ren was different. He had just stood up after being paralyzed in bed for several months. His body was still weak, and he had no ability to repair. Even if the octopus man's nerves had been improved, his muscles and bones were still Song Ren's own. These were his shortcomings. Excessive intensity training might have the opposite effect. Believe me. Song Ren smiled at Lin Fan. His eyes were as calm and confident as when they first met, making people involuntarily willing to trust him. Yes, in terms of squeezing physical strength, who could know better than the devil instructor Song Ren? Lin Fan moved his lips, but finally did not object anymore. He lowered his eyes and retreated behind ours. A was originally calm, but when he saw Lin Fan's strong opposition, he became interested. Sen Fangyuan explained to the two octopuses the physical limitations of the Langsing people, especially for patients who have just recovered from a serious illness. Song Ren reached his peak in 1 month, which is impossible for 99.99% of people. Oh. An experimental enthusiast was really interested. Then I want to see if you can really do it. Song Ren smiled confidently. Please wait and see. A good physique can cope with the mutations caused by fusion. Swin slowly interrupted. Do you want to fuse the companion stone? If not, we will not include this experiment in the plan. So A's dislike for Song Ren's physique is due to the prerequisite of the fusion experiment? Lin Fan thought to himself. No wonder. Song Ren agreed almost without hesitation. Although they all love their mechas, who hasn't dreamed of transforming into a biological armor? What's more, the data difference between Xingqian and bionic armor can be regarded as a world of difference. There was no chance before, but now there is. Of course I have to seize it. And I can get closer to her. Song Ren glanced at the girl who was looking down and wondering what she was thinking, and he was secretly happy. We should make it clear this time. The Langsing people will definitely feel uncomfortable when fusing the companion stone. If it hurts to death, don't blame us for not telling you in advance. A suddenly spoke up, remembering the grudge Lin Fan had complained about them that day. Lin Fan touched his nose guiltily and pretended not to hear. Song Ren later reviewed the whole process from the surveillance video, and of course he knew what A was talking about. He didn't want Lin Fan to be implicated by him, so he continued. Don't worry, fusing the companion stone will not hurt more than inserting the nerve into the organism, right? I have experience, and I won't die easily from the pain. Unexpectedly, A replied to him seriously after hearing this. That's right, the pain of fusion is not as bad as before, so you shouldn't die. For a moment, no one else knew how to respond, and Lin Fan laughed first. She finally realized that this A was a stubborn person. The atmosphere suddenly eased. Song Ren's physical condition was not good, and the octopus man could not do anything. He had visited everything that could be visited last time, so Yu wanted to leave directly. Cui Yan wanted to keep him, or at least treat him, but the octopus man did not eat, and Cui Yan, who had always been successful, had no way to do it for a while, so he could only send him to the spaceship himself. This time, Song Ren also came to see him off. He walked very steadily, and apart from his body shape, there was no difference from before. It seemed that he had adapted to the new parts. If Cui Yan's eyes never left the two big octopuses, then Song Ren's eyes almost never left Lin Fan. It's just that Lin Fan has been walking in front with his back to him, and Song Ren controlled himself very well, so he was not discovered. When saying goodbye, Lin Fan even shouted, "Come on," to Song Ren. Song Ren looked at her smiling face and clenched her fists and couldn't help but laugh back at him, clenching her fists and raising them up until the spaceship disappeared in the air and Cui Yan and the others left. Song Ren was still standing there alone, looking up at the sky. After a while, Lee Chun-hua drove a small electric car to look for someone. Seeing this, he also followed his gaze and looked up. "Boss, what are you looking at?" Lee Chun-hua looked for a long time, but didn't see even a sesame seed, so he finally asked. "Looking at the stars." Song Ren retracted his gaze and sat in the driver's seat. "Stars?" Lee Chun-hua scratched his head. "It's daytime. What stars are you looking at? Will you go?" Song Ren started the car and turned around to ask. "Go, go, go." Lee Chun-hua didn't care about anything else and jumped into the co-pilot. "Boss, you haven't moved for so long. Can you still drive?" Song Ren turned his head indifferently, stepped on the accelerator, and the car rushed out. "You reminded me, right? I haven't moved for so long. Your physical fitness should have declined, right?" Lee Chun-hua wanted to go back a few seconds ago and give himself a big fight. "Isn't this just looking for trouble? Long-awaited intensive training." Lee Chun-hua cried and laughed. "Boss, it's okay. It's still a familiar taste." The Lan Meng was furious when they knew that the octopus man officially decided to fuse the companion stone to Song Ren. "Since we have the first one, can we also have the second one? What about the third one? We can't let H country take all the benefits, right? Even if they are a little worse than H country at present, it's fair competition. H country can't have two mechas, but they don't have any, right? Can't they eat meat and not let others drink soup? Human desires are endless. When desires overcome fears, all kinds of weird ideas will pop up. Each country kept silent and sat on the deteriorating, letting the people below quarrel, neither joining nor opposing. OVP country had already thought of a plan to deal with it and sat aside with confidence. Why is he in a hurry? The only 2 companion stones in the world are in the hands of their P country. In terms of opportunities, they have more than others, right? The final conclusion of the quarrel is to talk to the octopus people, put forward their demands directly, and see what they say. The word came through Sen Fangyuan's mouth. Before Oz said anything, AE spoke first. You Langsing people are really weird. He said, are you so inferior to your own genes? Sen Fangyuan was stunned. What did he say? You want to integrate the companion stone and become stronger quickly through our genes. Isn't that a disapproval of your own genes? AE said. Lin Fan, who was listening on the side, actually felt that it made sense. That's not what I meant. Sen Fangyuan explained with a stiff face. Isn't it because you saw Song Ren's situation and felt that there is hope for him to become stronger? Xingqian and Apollo's military strength is really too high. If it weren't for the 2 of them when Gro invaded, Langsing would not be like this now. Gro's invasion was roughly told to them when they were talking about history at the beginning, but the octopus man didn't seem to be very interested in this aspect, so he didn't go into details. Are Xingqian and Apollo very powerful? AE asked. Oz also looked over and looked at Lin Fan with satisfaction, as if he were his own child. Yes. Sen Fangyuan paused and continued. If there were more people like them on Langsing, we wouldn't have to worry about invasions from foreign enemies like Gro. Put your hopes on external forces? AE seemed confused. He shook his big head. You should focus on developing your own strength. Over-reliance on the fusion of external objects, even if it can improve combat power in a short period of time, it does not belong to your Langsing after all. Without the participation of genes, this temporary combination cannot be passed on to the next generation. Won't it still return to its original form after a few decades? That's what I said, but it's better to have it than not. Sen Fangyuan heard the disapproval in A's words, but he continued to express the Lan Meng's ideas. A didn't understand and ignored him. Seeing this, Sen Fangyuan could only look to the good old man Oz for help. Oz did not disappoint him and gave a touching sentence. It's not impossible for you to provide us with help, but what can you give in return? I was feeling dizzy at noon yesterday. After I revised the text, I clicked publish directly and published a chapter by mistake because I couldn't see who decided it in the background. Please subscribe to Chapter 764 Farewell before 2 o'clock to ask me to reimburse you. I'm sorry, I must be more careful in the future and try not to cause trouble to you all. It may be because I was thinking about the plot before going to bed the day before yesterday and ended up suffering from insomnia. I started to feel groggy at around 4 o'clock yesterday morning and I was not very clear-headed. Sorry, love you. Chapter 754 Killing two birds with one stone. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Energy exchange and interest exchange are both conserved. When the people of Lan Meng saw that there was a way, most of their rationality flew away. Even OV began to get excited. It seemed that he had seen the scene of mechas flying everywhere. Each party still kept silent and waited and watched. Hope is just ahead. The final result of the discussion of Lan Meng was to take the octopus people to travel around Langsing, to have fun, and to have fun. As long as there is something they like, as long as it does not cause major damage to Langsing, they can all be exchanged for mechas. When Sen Fangyuan heard this order, he frowned fiercely, but each party did not issue any other instructions separately, so he still conveyed it step by step. Lin Fan felt that the people of Lan Meng had gone crazy. Who was it that had tried to stop the octopus people from taking Langsing's things before and couldn't sleep at night because they were afraid that they would take the octopus people's things? Why is it that now they are offering it with both hands? Just for biological armor? She admitted that biological armor is strong and powerful. But is it worth exchanging things on Langsing for such a big sum? And what do you mean by no major damage to Langsing? Who set this standard? What degree is considered a major damage? This definition is too vague, and it is easy to go wrong. Lin Fan was anxious and wanted to interrupt Sen Fangyuan's narration, but she also knew that this was not her place to comment. Mi Jiao saw her scratching her head and looking uneasy and walked over. What? Can't figure it out? How can you figure it out? Lin Fan held his breath and spoke to Mi Jiao with a tone that was a little bit out. Are these people crazy? Have you ever heard a saying? Old lady Mi was calm and composed, as if what Sen Fangyuan said was not worth mentioning at all. If you want to destroy it, you must first make it crazy. Lin Fan didn't understand at first what this saying had to do with the current situation. Then suddenly a light bulb went off in her head, and she looked at Mi Jiao suspiciously. You mean, the higher ups let them do this, and they want to take advantage of the opportunity? Mi Jiao smiled with her eyes curved, revealing a teachable look. No, aren't we talking about converting and fusing more biological armors now? Lin Fan's CPU began to heat up. Yeah, but you're talking about the power struggle in the Land League. Lin Fan felt like his brain was splitting. That's right. Mi Jiao was quite amused to see Lin Fan like this. Aren't these two the same thing? How can they be confused? Why not? Can you? Yes. Mi Jiao sighed with the feeling of a child who has never seen the world. Kill two birds with one stone. Kill two birds with one stone. Sit on the mountain and watch tigers fight. Kid, you should know the meaning of these idioms. Lin Fan's CPU burned out. His brain crashed, and it was no longer working. He could only weakly give a thumbs up. This world is far more complicated than you think. Mi Jiao helped her smooth down the silly hair on her head and comforted her. It's okay, you'll get used to it after seeing it more. I don't want to see it that much. Lin Fan murmured. This world of interests full of calculations is not what she wants to get involved in. What? Mi Jiao didn't hear clearly. Nothing. Lin Fan gave Mi Jiao a bitter smile. I just think that when the day they leave, I might be able to get rid of my worrying habits. She worried before, because she was worried that things would not go smoothly. But after these few times, she found that her worrying was not only useless, but also seemed to have nothing to do with the development of the situation, which was quite nonsense. That's a good thing. Mi Jiao clasped her hands together, as if she was celebrating for Lin Fan. Those annoying things should be left to those who are responsible for worrying about them. We only need to be responsible for being happy on weekdays and doing our own things when there are tasks. Don't keep chasing happiness. In fact, happiness is always behind you. You just need to remember to turn around more, and you can see it. Lin Fan didn't expect Mi Jiao to suddenly say chicken soup. It is undeniable that his heart was also slightly touched. Do your own thing well. It sounds simple, but it's not that simple when you think about it. Yes, do your own thing well. If everyone does their own thing well, there will naturally be less trouble in this world. Mi Jiao's voice was very light, as if she was lost in some memories. Lin Fan guessed that it was not a good memory. Mi Jiao's exhortation was based on her own experience and painful lessons. Lin Fan did not want to live up to her kindness, and also wanted to take the opportunity to correct his melancholy problem. After thinking again and again, he responded with a okay. In the following days, the group took a spaceship to fly around Langsing. No matter where they went, the locals had a one-stop service for eating, drinking and having fun, with the highest sense of comfort and luxury, and they didn't have to pay. Lin Fan didn't know whether the octopus man was having fun, but she was very happy anyway. In addition, he had recently forced himself not to put pressure on himself by thinking too much. After emptying his mind, he found that he was indeed happier. The local tyrant travel group traveled from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere, from convenient cities to primitive jungles. Some places even specially brought forward festivals and gatherings to create a warm atmosphere for them and increase their experience. After entering June, the weather began to get hot. If it weren't for the wrong season, Lin Fan even suspected that Harbin would directly build an ice sculpture exhibition for them. But then again, if the octopus man went to that kind of icy and snowy place, he would turn into an ice octopus, right? Lin Fan thought of this and laughed to himself. Mi Jiao was right. When all the troubles were thrown away, happiness did become simple. The octopus man hadn't seen anything worth replacing yet, and a month had already passed. Lin Fan had been keeping track of the time, but he thought of delaying it for 2 more days to give Song Ren more time. Unexpectedly, he notified them through the Line League himself and asked them to go to 800. Come to think of it, this is a big deal about fusing the companion stone. Even if Song Ren wanted to wait a little longer, those people in the Lan League who were waiting to see him probably wouldn't let him. This time seeing Song Ren again was really no different from the first time, and it was even better. He smiled and looked at Lin Fan without blinking. Seeing this, Lin Fan's old face turned red, his heart thumped wildly, and he quickly turned his eyes away. Oh my god. Who can stand being stared at by such a handsome guy in a uniform with a good figure and a good face? She couldn't do it anyway, and she almost lost her mind. What a monster. What a monster. By the way, when did Song Ren smile like this? Looking at him this way, why does he look different from the previous Song Ren? Didn't they say that organisms don't participate in genes? Lin Fan came back to her senses and poked Antonio next to her with her elbow. Hey, why do I feel like he has become more handsome? She and Antonio have a genetic bonus, so they are beautified, but Song Ren shouldn't be like this. Antonio had been following Ibuta before, and after the two of them finished the translation project, they boarded the spaceship to reunite with them, and have been playing together until now. Has he become more handsome? Antonio was also surprised by Song Ren's heroic appearance, and he unconsciously raised his head and chest, like a proud peacock. It's no use asking me, I haven't seen him before. But he is definitely more handsome than when he was on the hospital bed. Lin Fan knew that he had asked the wrong person, but after looking around, there was no one around who knew Song Ren. The 800 people were all on the other side, so it was not appropriate to talk now, so he just put his question aside and asked again when there was a chance. The octopus man obviously had no idea whether Song Ren had become more handsome. He asked for the data right away, and after comparing it with a month ago, he gave a positive compliment. It's finally good now. It can be integrated. After a few seconds of silence, Sen Fangyuan suddenly reacted. Now, they just got off the spaceship and didn't say a word. Isn't it too fast? What are you waiting for? A didn't understand. No, Cui Yan made a prompt decision. Now, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755, Chaos. Everyone was eagerly waiting for the octopus man to take out the companion stone, but they didn't expect the octopus man to be motionless, as if waiting for them. Finally, A got impatient. What are you all standing there for? Where's the companion stone? Take it out. Cui Yan and the others felt a little nervous when A flew the spaceship all over Langsing to look for the companion stone. In order to prevent 112 from being detected, they locked it in a special safe to isolate it from outside scanning, and in order to increase concealment, they hid it in the deepest part of the underground fortress. Sure enough, until the detection was completed, A did not find that there was another companion stone in the territory of 800. I thought he had concealed the truth, but now it sounds. Why doesn't it feel like that? Was he discovered, or was he deceiving them? Cui Yan and Sen Fangyuan pretended not to understand, and tried to pretend again without showing any expression. A didn't have the patience to be hypocritical with them, so he directly exposed their plan. Where's your companion stone? Take it out. I've already detected one at this location, but I didn't ask you for it, because I saw you've already put it away. Hurry up, it's too hot today. Most aquatic creatures prefer cool temperatures, and the temperature in early summer is not comfortable for them. Needless to say, Cui Yan and his companions were shocked, and the conference table in the control room was also in an uproar. Great. I was wondering why Party H wasn't in a hurry. It turns out they have hidden one. We are fighting here, but they are sitting on the Diote. If it hadn't been revealed by the octopus man, we would have been kept in the dark. There were all kinds of things. Ovi from Country P kept glaring at the representatives of Party H, and even the big brother from Country E, who had always had a close relationship with them, didn't look much better. This man, who always believed in strength first, couldn't hold back the complicated emotions in his heart at this moment. Not to mention Xinjun and Apollo, the appearance of these two guys was purely accidental. But everyone also saw their strength. As long as there is ambition, who wouldn't be eager to have such a person, or more than one high-strength combat power in their own forces? Now there is another experimental subject. Alright. This experimental subject is special, and everyone is watching. It is a pioneer dancing on a tightrope, just as it is paving the way for the mass production of mechas. So although everyone knows that H-Party is likely to gain another big boost, in view of the unknown risks and unclear results, they will temporarily put it aside. After all, this transformation is different from Xinjun and the others. If it doesn't succeed in the end, won't it be a waste of effort for them to argue in advance? If the transformation is successful, then there will naturally be more opportunities later. Even if the octopus people don't help them test their genes, at most, they can test their blood one by one, and they will always be able to test it out. Compared with the Langsing people whose genetic conditions are uncertain, the scarce companion stone is the focus of their competition. Therefore, this group of smart people have figured out the key to the problem long ago. They argue every day, but no one talks to H-Party. As H had not expressed its position, they assumed that they had already received the benefits, and would not participate in the subsequent process. Many people were still thinking that H was the master, but Ye lifted the tablecloth. Well, you have a new mecha in your left hand that is about to be transformed, and a companion stone in your right hand, right? In addition, all parties have been restricted by H recently, and they have been holding back a lot of anger, but they have nowhere to vent it. Once this hole was opened, they just attacked in groups. Suddenly, the most high-end conference venue in Langsing was noisier than a vegetable market. People took off their clothes, threw shoes, smashed microphones. Things were flying everywhere. The representatives of H, who were always calm and composed, had to passively participate in the battle, and were dragged into the chaos. Instead, Ovi, who had been waiting for an opportunity, retreated to a corner with his men, and was very happy to see H's embarrassed appearance. In short, H's beautiful vision of quietly getting a companion stone for free was still shattered. When Sen Fangyuan learned through his headset that the Lan Alliance had been fighting in chaos, the corners of his smiling mouth could not help but twitch. He quickly exchanged glances with Cui Yan, and led the people to the underground bunker. When the group of people in the conference room finally fought to exhaustion and still could not decide the winner, he remembered that there was still an experimental subject on the 800 side that was about to be transformed into a mecha. When he looked up at the big screen, he saw that the main screen was pitch black. A bad premonition came to his mind. Where is the picture? Where are the people? Someone shouted in a disheveled manner, looking around, trying to find the people from the H side. Sitting aside, Aoi, who was neatly dressed, was particularly conspicuous. Many people looked at him in unison, wanting to get an answer from him who was not involved in the dispute. Aoi's face was not good either. He felt bad when he saw a group of people going underground. Sure enough, after entering the elevator, the video signal was cut off. He clenched his fists, trying to remain calm and indifferent, and found the person in charge of the H side on the messy ground. Come on, tell me, why is it dark again? The person in charge of the H side climbed up, straightened his shirt, looked at the opponents who had collapsed in the room, and strategically took a few steps back. It's an underground fortress. It's deep from the ground. The signal is not. Before he finished speaking, he saw a group of people rushing over again, with Ov, who had not taken action just now, moving the fastest. The person in charge quickly dodged and asked for help in the headset. My god, he is just a civilian. He can't stand these violent guys. Hurry up and change the military. Lin Fan didn't know that the Lan Meng was beaten up again because they couldn't see the scene. She was only worried about Song Ren's safety. In fact, it's good that Song Ren can be like this now. But everyone wants Song Ren to go further, to be stronger, better, and more. Including her. She knows the pain and risks of transformation better than anyone else. In addition to her friendship with Song Ren, it is naturally difficult for her to look at this matter calmly and always feel uneasy. The transformation location is set in Laboratory 623. There were experimental sites and equipment specially set up for Xingqian, and the rescue teams of the medical department were all present. However, in order to prevent accidents, all non-essential staff were cleared out. 112 was packed in an equipment box and sent over by Li Chunhe and others. He carried the box on his back, as if he was back to the time when Lin Fan was stabbed. At that time, they sent 818 to the emergency room to save Lin Fan. After a series of twists and turns, Lin Fan was rescued, and Xingqian evolved successfully. Now, they are going to use another similar thing on the boss. The current situation is naturally not as urgent as Lin Fan's original situation, but Li Chunhe, who had personally experienced Song Ren's nerve repair situation, was also uneasy, and the unknown made it difficult for him to feel at ease. But his steps were still steady, and he moved forward unswervingly. The fusion process was simpler than Lin Fan thought. Because of the independent characteristics of the organism at the back of Song Ren's neck, Song Ren's blood does not carry genes, so there is no need to make the blood spurt like Lin Fan did. All you need to do is to put the companion stone in contact with the organism part to make it mistakenly think that it is an octopus person. So simple. Lin Fan asked as he watched 112 being fixed on the shelf and slowly moving up to the height of Song Ren's neck. It's that simple. He had already made preparations while holding his black box. The organism has the pure genes of our octopus people, so fusion is not a problem. It's just that the process of transitioning from the nerves to your Langsing people is hard to say. It's not impossible that he will have a nervous breakdown and lose all his sanity. Wish him good luck. Even though Lin Fan already knew what kind of personality he had, he couldn't help but roll his eyes at him at this moment. Anton, she saw that everyone in 623 was busy, and she felt uneasy, so she walked to Antonio. Can you help me later? No problem. Antonio smiled and agreed. What help? What if? Lin Fan raised his chin and pointed at Song Ren in the field. Just when he saw the other party's eyes falling on him, he smiled back at him, turned around and whispered to Antonio, if there is an emergency over there, please help, but try not to hurt him. Antonio glanced at Song Ren, then at the octopus man who was standing quietly on the sidelines, and was extremely well behaved, and made an okay gesture to Lin Fan. Don't worry, I'm familiar with this job. Lin Fan couldn't help laughing when he thought of howling and hugging Song Ren's head a few days ago. Mi Jiao saw Lin Fan's actions, thought about it, and also told the colleagues in charge of the barrier to respond flexibly. Everything is ready. Everyone retreated to the sidelines, leaving only Song Ren, who turned his back to 112 and slowly retreated until he touched. Chapter 756, Unconscious Biological Armor. Song Ren finally felt the heartbeat that Lin Fan had mentioned before. From 112 in the back, there was a strong heartbeat-like beat, which shook his mind and soul. When the beat was in sync with his heartbeat, his whole soul seemed to be shaken out of his body, and all his senses became hazy and swaying, as if he had entered the crack of another space, twisted and stretched, and no longer himself. The onlookers could not see this. They saw Song Ren standing there motionless for a long time, so long that everyone thought something was wrong. Did it take me that long? Lin Fan asked Zhang Zhaoji, who was standing behind him. Not that long. Zhang Zhaoji flipped through the original data on the tablet. You were very fast, almost in an instant. Could it be that the mode is different, so the change mechanism is also different? Ke Wenbin frowned. Are you saying that Lin Fan's internal genes make the fusion faster, and Captain Song's plugin needs a longer reaction time? The little nurse Wu Yi continued. But 112 hasn't changed at all. Yu Guangli, regardless of his status as the team leader, squeezed over and quietly participated in the discussion. No matter what happened before, absorption will cause deformation. Li Chunhe stared at Song Ren in the field without blinking, listening to the discussion behind him. His heart was like being roasted on fire. Did something happen to the boss? Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Shouldn't we ask the aliens about this situation? Gao Fei whispered to Jiu. Don't they have experience? Jiu glanced at the aliens who were motionless, and then turned his gaze back to the people standing quietly in the field. One situation is normal, and the other situation, they don't know, they are observing. Antonio wanted to watch Song Ren's transformation and imagine what his transformation was like at the beginning, but after watching for a long time without any movement, he began to wonder, what's the situation? Is this normal or abnormal? Lin Fan looked at the real-time data of the ECG monitor on the side and said, it seems to be fine at the moment, but it's not moving. Before he finished speaking, the data suddenly began to fluctuate, up and down like a roller coaster. Lin Fan didn't understand, and turned around to look for Dr. Zio. As soon as he saw him, he heard Antonio yell "Ah!" and hurried back. Song Ren and 112 were gone, replaced by a tall red mecha. The red color seemed to be from the sun, the red flag, and the blood, which made people excited. I don't know if it was influenced by Fu Guang, but the color of Song Ren's biological armor was very close to Fu Guang's color matching. The outer armor was a large area of bright red, and there were large or small golden geometric contrasts on the chest, shoulder armor, forearm, buttocks, and knees. The inner armor was the same as Xingqian, with a black scaly structure. The lateral abdomen, that was not covered by the outer armor, could see the undulating curves of muscles, full of power and beauty. He was taller than Xingqian, and even slightly bigger than Apollo. The head armor was divided by a V-shaped eye, and the lower half of the face was covered by a golden mask, with a bright red helmet on top. The tall feathers on both sides, and in the middle, stood on the top of the head like a crown. At the center of the helmet above the eyes, a golden line gradually thinned from thick to thin, along the highest feather horn, straight up to the sky. This body, whether in terms of size or color, was much more imposing than Xingqian. Not only was the contrast between red, black, and gold strong, but the structures of the shoulder armor, chest armor, and other parts were also larger and thicker than Xingqian's. Especially the shoulder armor was raised high, higher than the highest feather horn in the center of the head. Xingqian's originally cold and hard structure actually looked small in front of him, and even had some rounded curves. Originally, it was hard to tell the gender when she was with Apollo, but now in front of Song Ren's biological armor, she was definitely a little girl. The biggest difference was the wings on the back. Unlike the 3 pairs of diamond-shaped wings of equal size on the other 2 biological armors, this guy's wings were of different sizes. There were also 3 pairs of bright red wings with gold edges and a black background. The top pair is relatively small, the middle one is the largest, a bit like a triangle, and a bit like an irregular diamond, hanging down to the calf. The bottom pair is thinner, a bit like a phoenix's tail, hanging down to the ground. The most eye-catching thing is the front of the chest armor. The 5 polestar-like geometric contrasting colors extend to the ribs and collarbone respectively, looking like the heart of the mecha, shining like the gold on the top of the head. Oh my god, how can it be so handsome? Zhang Zhaoji, as the chief person in charge of the mecha's appearance design, can't say anything else except worship. The natural form is too magical. The stars are also, Apollo is also, and Captain Song is also. This kind of beauty is simply not something that the human brain can imagine. Antonio is a very confident person, but now he is a little inferior. Speaking of it, how is the appearance of the mecha determined? Can he change a shell according to this standard? Lin Fan didn't have time to sigh. She kept frowning and stared at Song Ren's situation with worry. After such a long time, the eyes of the mecha are still black, which means that, although Song Ren's body has been successfully transformed, his consciousness is not yet in place. Did it take me that long? Lin Fan recalled the first time he transformed. There seemed to be a blank period, but it shouldn't be that long, right? No, Yu Guangli replied, but at that time Song Ren and Jin Sichen were both calling you. I wonder if you. Lin Fan remembered that her consciousness was awakened by someone. Maybe Song Ren also needs to be activated in this way. She took a step forward, and Xingqian stepped into the test area and walked towards the mecha in the field. Just as she got close and was about to open her mouth, the head of the biological armor in the field suddenly moved and turned towards Xingqian. Lin Fan was happy, but before she could be happy, she found that the eyes of the mecha were still black. When she realized something was wrong, one foot had already stepped out. In a flash, the hair on her body stood up, and a stern murderous aura swept through her. Xingqian's body consciousness was faster than Lin Fan's. The 2 swords slid out of the armor and raised her hands. With a clang, sparks flew everywhere. The unconscious Song Ren bio armor attacked Xingqian. Before the people on the sidelines could react, Apollo had already rushed over. Ding ding ding. Xingqian took 3 steps back, blocking each step, and seemed to be at a disadvantage. At this time, the barrier of the special office opened, enveloping the 3 people. What's going on? Zhang Zhaoji screamed, while holding his head. Song Ren's weapon is a bit like Apollo's broadsword, but he has a single-sided blade, and it seems to be broken in the middle, with only a short section. There are complex black patterns on the blade, adding a mysterious atmosphere to the heavy broken sword. But this is not the point. The point is how these 2 people fought? Exclamation mark. Didn't you go to wake them up? Li Chunhe also wanted to scream. Apollo wanted to rush over to help, but was stopped by Xingqian. No need to come. Lin Fan's voice sounded at ease. I can handle it. He just merged, and his strength and reaction are not as good as mine. Apollo then took a leisurely posture to watch. Xingqian obviously didn't want to hurt Song Ren's biological armor. He only blocked but didn't attack, and he also took the time to call Song Ren. But he didn't know what went wrong. The 2 of them were almost at the edge of the barrier, but Song Ren still didn't respond. What should we do? Sen Fangyuan was a little jumpy. These are all their precious talents. How can they waste their energy like this? But the octopus man had never seen such a situation. He moved his black box to record the scene carefully, and even made a sarcastic remark without thinking it was a big deal. It's because you Langsing people have low brain capacity and your mental strength can't keep up with the improvement of your physical body. Just wait. Chapter 757. That's not how you fight. The last time Lin Fan and Song Ren fought in Mecha form on this field was when Fu Guan was just completed. In order to check the bugs and help Song Ren adapt to the operation better, Xingqian went up to serve as a sparring partner. At that time, the combat power of the 2 sides was too different. Under Xingqian's deliberate accommodation, the 2 sides seemed to be able to go back and forth. But as long as she got serious, she didn't even need to use all her strength. With a slight lift, she could throw Fu Guang out and fly far away. It was at that time that everyone intuitively realized the gap in combat power between biological armor and bionic armor. Although the combat power of bionic armor has been upgraded several times, it is not much different from the original, but Xingqian has also been trained and evolved, and it is still a height that they can't reach. But opportunities are something that can only be encountered by chance. After learning that they could not use 112, the members of the Mecha team had already focused on improving their own abilities, constantly improving themselves, and improving the proficiency of bionic armor operation to achieve maximum performance. Unexpectedly, Song Ren was injured and merged with 112 in a roundabout way, transforming into the existence that they envied. Li Chunhe held his head, his brain stopped working, and Gao Fei couldn't help but pinch Ji Yu's arm. Ji Yu was also immersed in the visual impact, swallowing unconsciously, and didn't shake him off immediately. The members of the 2nd generation armor saw Xingqian's attack at close range for the first time, and they were suppressed by Song Ren's transformed mecha, and couldn't fight back. They were excited and worried. Several people held hands and even hugged each other, biting their lips, but didn't dare to make a sound. Xingqian could feel that the force of the attack was getting stronger and stronger, as if the biological armor had gradually adapted to the new body and gradually became more flexible. But the green eyes she wanted to see never lit up, which made her feel very depressed. She couldn't think of anything else, but as the opponent's attack increased, she continued to chop him forward. Is he conscious or unconscious? Cui Yan finally couldn't help asking. Although he was happy that Song Ren had successfully transformed, he saw that his attack on Xingqian was getting stronger and stronger, and Song Ren's consciousness was still not in place, so things began to become difficult. But if you say he was unconscious, his body could still chase Xingqian and chop him. Wouldn't normal people who were unconscious lie down and faint on the spot? His own consciousness is not in place yet, and now it is the consciousness body that comes with the defensive state that is active. This consciousness body belongs to the passive defense system, which does not work normally, but will automatically activate the protection and defense mechanism when the main body consciousness is vacant. Don't worry. Ours answered slowly. Don't worry. Zhang Zhaoji watched the red mecha waving the broken knife without restraint. forcing Xingqian from the center of the field to the edge of the field, almost rushing out of the experimental area, and pulled his hair violently. The sound of collisions was endless, so dense that it almost formed a long line. The originally clear waving movements also turned into a dazzling red light as the red mecha gradually stabilized, accompanied by increasingly large sparks, and the deafening sound was frightening. Is this a situation that there is no need to worry? Lin Fan. Fight back. Mi Jiao shouted when she saw Xingqian finally hit the edge of the barrier and had no way to retreat. The barrier's energy should not be consumed on such useless efforts. Others could not see it. Only Mi Jiao and the person who controlled the barrier could see that the transparent barrier wall was shaking slightly under the pressure of the two mechas. Of course, this intensity of pressure was nothing to the barrier. But this barrier was not originally prepared for mechas. The octopus man had not left yet, and the energy of the magic weapon could not be consumed on these two idiots. One was irrational and only knew how to attack, and the other was blindly tolerant. It was unknown how long this frustrating scene would last, and the high-intensity body collision of the biological armor could already cause considerable damage to the barrier, not to mention other attack damage. The barrier controller did not dare to take it lightly. He pursed his lips tightly, and his face was as serious as when the Grow people came to attack. He had to use his spiritual power to repair the weak defense layer caused by the damage to the barrier at any time. However, the physical damage of the biological armor to the barrier was obviously much stronger than that of Grow's gang. He was unsure, fearing that his limited spiritual power could not support such a high-intensity task. If by then, 800 still couldn't control his mecha, then let alone whether the octopus man would need the barrier later, they would all have to die in the aftermath of the mecha exchange. It's not that Lin Fan didn't want to resist. Every time his body subconsciously wanted to fight back fiercely, but when he thought of the person opposite him was Song Ren, his kindness to him and his depressed look lying in bed not moving not long ago repeatedly appeared in his mind. Lin Fan couldn't do it. She was not an aggressive person. After experiencing the Grow incident, although she could kill with the knife neatly, that was against the enemy. But is Song Ren an enemy? He is not. He is the one who accompanied Lin Fan out of the trough, standing firmly like a mountain, to make Lin Fan feel at ease. Lin Fan admired his professionalism and his unyielding spirit, as if there was nothing in the world that could stump this man, as if as long as Song Ren was there, you could feel at ease. This was a feeling different from John Woo's warm attributes. So when Lin Fan knew that Song Ren had a nerve problem, was paralyzed from the waist down, and would have to lie in bed and unable to take care of himself for the rest of his life, she couldn't accept it at all. So she tried every possible way to get Song Ren back on his feet, for Song Ren, and for her own faith. Although Song Ren is better now, his hopeless look in life has always been at the top of Lin Fan's memory. Whenever he saw or thought of Song Ren, it would immediately emerge. I don't know if it was because he seemed to see himself in the past in such a predicament. Lin Fan just couldn't make up his mind to attack the unconscious mecha opposite. There was Song Ren and there. She couldn't attack Song Ren. Mi Jiao couldn't bear to see Lin Fan's cowardly look of procrastination and didn't care about the complexity in her heart. Seeing that she didn't listen, she stopped talking. She grabbed the wrist of the person who controlled the barrier. The powerful healing power entered the opponent's body along the tendons and veins, and the originally tense nerves were instantly soothed and relaxed, and the spiritual power was also filled to the extreme. Looking up, Mi Jiao used her spiritual power to help him consolidate the barrier, and also gave Xingqian a surprise. Lin Fan was still hesitating and tangled, and felt a huge force suddenly burst out from behind, and pushed her forward. This force was not gentle at all. In an instant, Xingqian, who was pressed against the wall of the barrier, and the red mecha that was pressing her were pushed away. Even in the air, the red mecha did not forget to chop Xingqian. As for Lin Fan, her mind was already in a mess, and the sudden extra force behind her made her confused. Once her mind was in a mess, her body went wrong. The sword in her right hand was directly shaken out of her hand during the blocking and rushed straight towards the onlookers, penetrating the barrier and inserting into the floor outside. Fortunately, Yi was in that position and reacted quickly. Even so, he hurriedly rolled his tentacles to the side and barely escaped. The others finally reacted and couldn't help but take a few steps back, their eyes unconsciously glancing at Mijao and the others. The barrier of the Special Affairs Office isn't very safe. Lin Fan. Mijao was furious. Why did he throw out his sword when she was told to stay away? Exclamation mark. This damn kid, what was he doing during the battle? Exclamation mark. Everyone in the Special Affairs Office was humiliated by her, and when she looked back, Mijao gritted her teeth. Seeing that Lin Fan was no longer reliable, she could only put her hope on the third person in the field and shouted loudly. That kid. That black iron guy. You go up. Show them some power. Antonio couldn't help it a long time ago, but he had been holding it back because of Lin Fan's previous words. Now, hearing what teacher Lin Fan said, he jumped up happily, ran over, and kicked the red mecha's waist. He had long disliked this beautiful muscle. This kick was not like Lin Fan's, which was stored but not released, and he directly kicked the red mecha from in front of Xingchen to the other side of the barrier wall. Mijao watched the barrier shake violently and tightly grasped the wrist of the controller. She injured it. Apollo deliberately ignored Xingchen's gaze towards him and watched the red mecha slowly get up from the ground, posing in a very handsome pose, and a muffled voice came out. That's not how you fight. Chapter 758. Noobs fighting each other. When men fight, fists are the most direct way. Antonio wanted to draw his sword, but Mijao shouted at him. Are you kidding? This guy's not like Lin Fan, who has received professional training and can control his strength. Mijao is afraid that the destructive power of his sword will be more terrible than that of the unconscious Song Ren. Antonio accepted the fact of fighting with bare hands without much thought. After the red mecha stood firm and rushed towards him, he rushed forward leisurely. Lin Fan couldn't bear to see Song Ren get hurt, and naturally couldn't see Antonio suffer. He went up and used a trick to take away the red mecha's knife. He used the method that Song Ren had taught him before, kicking it far away to prevent him from getting it easily. The unconscious mecha moves entirely by instinct and has no fighting skills at all. After losing the weapon, it is no different from Antonio, who came from a wild background, and there is no big safety hazard in the fight. Lin Fan picked up the knife and walked aside. This time she chose to be a spectator. If she can't do it herself, can't she let others do it? She was being beaten all the time and couldn't fight back, which was a bit aggrieved. Okay. Anyway, the mecha has a high tolerance, and if Antonio can win, it can be considered as revenge for himself. So, in the huge 623 test field, the two mechas with the highest level of combat power use the most primitive methods: punching and kicking, rushing over, falling over, and rolling on the ground. Most of the people present have seen the power of mechas, using weapons, using thermal weapons, and even other things. This kind of simple fight is not often seen. After not worrying about the degree of damage, everyone watched the show with relish. After all, such a childish high combat power fight is rare in this life. After Song Ren regained his sanity, it was absolutely impossible for him to accompany Apollo to do so. What about the unpredictable world? The people who were numb all over because of the thrill just now soon became bored with the scene of elementary school chickens pecking at each other without any technical content in front of them. If the boss knew that he could also throw such a jerk punch, his face would be very interesting, right? Lee Chun-ho happily took out his mobile phone to record the screen, ready to turn around and show it to Song Ren. Isn't this unconsciousness? It can't be blamed on our Captain Song, right? Gao Fei said bluntly. Don't worry about brotherly. Gu crossed his arms over his chest, and his eyes didn't move when he spoke. He is missing training. When Lee Chun-ho heard this, his face immediately became bitter, and he silently put his mobile phone back into his pocket. The previous month of special training can be regarded as his recent nightmare. I thought Song Ren had just stood up. How strong could he be after additional training? But he was directly treated to the hell level. I won't say more. Lee Chun-ho wiped a handful of non-existent tears. He should just keep his tail between his legs and be honest, and don't make trouble for himself. There seems to be no end to the pecking of chickens, and two people with unlimited physical strength can do whatever they want. The harsh sound of the outer armor rubbing against each other has already numbed the onlookers. Mijao also let go of the hand that was holding someone else early, because the safety of the barrier was not affected. If the occasion had not allowed it, she would have taken out a handful of melon seeds to crack. Speaking of which, why has Captain Song not regained consciousness for so long? Ke Wenbin was young after all, and a little impatient. Isn't this time too long? Even if Lin Fan had the operation, he would have woken up. You all forgot that this was Song Ren's first fusion. Yu Guangli was a rare person who didn't feel anxious, he said. When Lin Fan first merged, he was underwater and lost consciousness for a while. Do you remember? Everyone then remembered that they had chosen the wrong comparison object. Lin Fan had said before that she lost consciousness after jumping into the river, and when she woke up, she was already on the shore. She didn't know what happened, and then she went home dizzy. According to their investigation, the shore where Lin Fan woke up was quite far from where she jumped into the river. This also shows to a certain extent that when she first merged with 818, she should have lost consciousness for a long time. It's just that she was in a coma all the time, and no one helped her time it. So many people overlook this point. Antonio should be the same. As for the various upgrades that Lin Fan had made, after he reached 800, right under their noses, they were all after 818 had already merged and matured, and had successfully transformed several times. It was completely different from the current situation. This reminder aroused the interest of several young people in the research team, and they all flipped through Lin Fan's earliest records, trying to find out if there was anything that was overlooked. I don't know how long it took, but Song Ren felt that his lost senses seemed to have recovered. His ethereal and empty state was no longer there, and the whole person was confined in a narrow container and couldn't stretch out. After the noisy sound, there was a dull pain. He subconsciously waved his hands to block, opened his eyes, and a familiar yet unfamiliar metal mask was pressed against his face. He reflexively used his legs to kick the man out. Oh, this time I kicked it farther. Lee Chun-hua squatted on the ground and drew circles in boredom. He didn't want to watch it anymore. What's the difference between this low-level battle and a fight between kindergarten children? He would rather go back to training. The next second, the red Mecha underground jumped up and stood up lightly with a completely different posture from before. Everyone then realized that the black eyes they had been waiting for finally lit up green. Song Ren, Lin Fan was the closest and reacted the fastest. But thinking of the previous experience, she still controlled her steps to move forward and stood there and shouted. Apollo had just stabilized his body and wanted to rush up for another round of fighting. He heard Lin Fan's voice and realized something was wrong. Is he awake? Antonio inside also breathed a sigh of relief. It can finally be over. This tool man is too much for him. Hiss, it hurts. Antonio was not worried about Song Ren's condition at all. He turned around without looking back and moved forward fragilely step by step, pressing his ribs. He needed medical treatment. He wanted to find Lin Fan's teacher and the old lady to feel the new technology. It took Song Ren a while to react to the situation in front of him. Xingchen was standing in a safe position farther away. The one he had just kicked away was Apollo from Country P. He was facing away from him and moving forward with a gait so weak that it seemed difficult to stand. Outside the venue, familiar and unfamiliar people stared at him with burning eyes. Lee Chun-hua even jumped. No. This angle is too high. Song Ren, who always looked up at the stars, suddenly found that he had been looking at the Mecha and the octopus man. The previous memories came flooding back, and he remembered what he was doing now. He slowly raised his hand and looked down. The strange black palm with the familiar shape moved with his consciousness. Did he succeed? Song Ren's heart was not as excited as he thought, but more confused and uncertain, as if all this was just a dream of his. Song Ren, are you awake? If you are awake, talk. Cui Yan didn't have as much patience as Lin Fan to wait for him, so he shouted directly through the loudspeaker. Report. I'm awake. Song Ren immediately straightened his body and answered loudly. Compared with the relaxed Xingchen and the hunched Apollo, his straight posture like a green pine immediately showed the difference. How do you feel now? Are you feeling unwell? Cui Yan's heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally settled down, and he spoke even more bluntly. I feel fine. Song Ren slowly turned his head and hands. I don't feel any obvious discomfort, but I just feel that my body doesn't quite belong to me. It felt like stepping on cotton, and the control was very soft and difficult to control. Song Ren tried to take a step, but as soon as he took a step, his legs were so weak that he couldn't support his body at all. He was about to fall flat on his face, but was stopped by a white light. Xingqian arrived before the red mecha fell, holding his chest with one arm, and pulling his right hand up with one hand. Song Ren felt as if his heart suddenly came alive, beating more and more vigorously, and the dull sound echoed in his ears. He slowly turned his head, and saw the familiar white figure. Lin Fan's cheerful voice came into his ears along with his heartbeat. I got you. I caught a cold. My throat was hoarse today. I coughed, sneezed, felt dizzy, and sleepy. I ran out of cold medicine at home, so I made some isatis root and drank it. I took my temperature at night, and it was over 37 degrees. I said I felt something was wrong. But I also worked hard to write today. The new year is coming soon. My dears must take care of their health, and don't catch a cold. Love you. Chapter 759 The Hero Who Cherishes His Life. Without Song Ren struggling, Xingqian pushed the mecha up effortless. Seeing that everything was fine, Apollo turned around and pretended to be pitiful by saying ouch, ouch. He took off his mecha, and his weakness and staggering steps made him look like he had been tortured 100 times. If everyone hadn't seen his quick reaction when he turned around after hearing the noise just now, they would have believed it. Is he okay? Song Ren looked at Antonio's pitiful look and suspected that he had injured him unconsciously. Don't worry about him. Lin Fan had been watching and knew the damage the two could cause to each other. At most, it would only leave bruises, which was really nothing to Antonio. Antonio heard it and wanted to turn around and have a fight with Lin Fan, this heartless woman. But Mijao was already in front of him, so he ignored everything else and rushed to the wall of the barrier and chanted a spell like knocking on the door. Teacher, I'm injured. I need your healing. Well, now everyone knows his purpose. It was also the first time that Mijao had seen such a direct expression. In addition, the kid had indeed helped before, so it was difficult to refuse. With a sigh, she asked someone to remove the barrier and caught his seemingly fragile, but actually strong body. Come on. Lin Fan simply couldn't bear to see Antonio's pretense. She held the mecha and didn't dare to let go, looking carefully from front to back. Even after the rattling and hammering just now, the surface of the red mecha was intact. Not even the paint fell off, so you can imagine how limited the damage to the two of them was. How are you? Why are you so weak all of a sudden? Lin Fan didn't understand why she was so energetic just now, fighting with the two of them to the death and never giving up until one of them fell. But when she opened her eyes, her whole state was wrong. Is it because of poor circulation? Or is there a problem with your physical fitness? Do you want to take off your armor first? She didn't expect Song Ren to answer, so she turned around and asked the group of people who were gathering towards them. His physiological data is relatively stable. Dr. Zio first confirmed that Song Ren's physical signs were good. He didn't feel any obvious discomfort. From my point of view, there is no big problem. As for the weak state, Dr. Zio hesitated, and someone took over the conversation. Could it be that this is his first time in the mecha form, and his body has not yet fully adapted? Li Chunho received everyone's eyes and scratched his head a little embarrassedly. Why are you looking at me? Wasn't Lin Fan also not used to it at the beginning, so his reaction was slow? That's possible. He regained his calm state as a scientific expert. The differences between species are not so easy to adapt to. But he was still very flexible just now. Is it really that he ran out of strength? Sen Fangyuan proposed. He was unconscious just now. It's a defensive body, which is what you call the self-protection consciousness of the mecha. It can simply control flexibility and reaction to exert the performance of the mecha itself. It has nothing to do with the strength of the person inside. All mechas have this characteristic when they lose consciousness. Ibutu has been playing well with the Langsing people recently and is willing to explain in detail. Now that he's awake, he's controlling the mecha with Lan Crossing's consciousness. There will naturally be a gap in ability if the abilities don't match. That's it. He just woke up, so this is normal. He'll get used to it and adapt to his new body in the future. Song Ren himself, after hearing his explanation and combining it with Lin Fan's previous test results, felt much more relaxed. In that case, let's stop today's test, Cui Yan ordered. Song Ren, you change back first. Removing armor is just an Italian command, which is not difficult, but Lin Fan stopped him. Wait a minute, your knife. She handed over the broken knife she had been holding in her hand. We don't know where this thing came from, so we have to take it back before we can remove the armor, right? She and Antonio had never removed armor without leaving their weapons behind, and they didn't know if it would have any impact. Didn't the green armored man's tortoise gun end up being used by them? There are still risks. Song Ren hadn't noticed what Xingchen was holding, and only saw his knife at this time. Among the people present, he was the last person to see his sword. This feeling is really hard to describe. He reached out to catch it, but he missed it, and the knife slid straight down, scaring the group of people to retreat quickly. Fortunately, Xingchen caught it again. Song Ren felt a little embarrassed, as he couldn't even hold his own knife. He was completely unfamiliar with this thing, so naturally he didn't know where it was taken from. So let's help find the scabbard? Put it back in his hand. Seeing this, Lin Fan immediately mobilized the crowd. Hurry up and get him to take off his armor. I'm afraid he won't be able to stand later. Song Ren shut himself up and stopped talking. Zhang Zhaoji and others ran to the main control desk to adjust the surveillance. After playing it slowly, they found that the knife was horizontally behind the waist, close to the back waist, and was pulled out horizontally. Xingchen put the knife over, but there was no suction reaction as expected. A group of people studied it again, and found that there was an inconspicuous gap above the back cover of the buttocks. The tip of the knife could be inserted smoothly by sticking it over it, and it would become a tight state after being pulled out. The alien high-tech that they could not envy made everyone couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Ibuta waved his tentacles happily and turned in circles because of his relationship with him. After Song Ren took off his armor, his condition was still good. His movements were much more powerful than in the Mecha state, but his face was pale and looked scary. Dr. Zhao immediately decided to take him to the medical department for a detailed examination. He didn't even let him walk. He brought in a stretcher and let him lie on it. The main feature was a thoughtful service. Lin Fan finally didn't have to stay in the Mecha state anymore. He reached out for the long sword that had been shot out of the test area just now. The long sword, which was only half exposed in the ground, shook slightly, and then whoosh flew back to Xingchen's hand and was taken back by her. Antonio, who was enjoying Mi Jiao's treatment next to him, saw the process of the weapon being taken back in the air. How could she do that? The man who was enjoying it suddenly jumped up like a cat with its fur standing on end. Why can Lin's weapon be recovered remotely? Like a boomerang? Mine can't. Mi Jiao had no idea about this. Zhang Zhaoji happened to pass by and described it in this way. In the end, he asked Antonio with interest, high intensity current flowing through the body may produce such a strong magnetic field. Do you want to try it? They were reluctant to let Captain Song go. They had no psychological burden on this P-country guy. Antonio thought of the unpleasant experience of being almost electrocuted, shuddered all over, and hurriedly shook his hand. No, that was exchanged for my life. It's not easy for me to live one more time. Cherish your life, and stay away from danger. After that, he asked Mi Jiao for treatment again, looking like a cowardly and obedient person. Everyone couldn't help but smile when they saw this. They had all seen the scene of Apollo saving people through the big screen, and knew that he was definitely not as timid as he was now. If Apollo hadn't acted in time, Zhu Gang would not have been preserved so well. If Apollo had not intervened, the Battle of Gro would have been even more brutal. Thinking of this, Zhang Zhaoji suddenly felt ashamed of his previous thoughts. A foreigner has such a noble cause, but he only cares about his own desires. Antonio doesn't care about other people's thoughts at all. He is having other ambitions. Teacher, do you think that someone like me has the talent to be as busy as you? Mi Jiao didn't like this funny guy at first, but just remembered this guy's contribution. She couldn't say no, so she gave him a very official answer. Everyone in each country knows that this means rejection, but the foreigner Antonio didn't understand and jumped for joy. Great. I can go to the Academy of Superpowers too. Chapter 760 Be happy for me. It took Song Ren a long time to adapt to the mecha. For the time being, the new mecha still consumes a lot of his physical energy. Even though his physical energy has reached the peak of laxing, it is still a little bit lacking in front of the powerful mecha. Since the fusion, the octopus man has lost interest in other things. The three of them drove the spaceship to the old place to fish. Since Song Ren got better, Lin Fan has nothing to worry about. Even accompanying fishing, which she was not good at, has become interesting. It's just that her skills and luck are not on her side. Even A is unwilling to waste time on her after staying behind. Mijao doesn't like fishing. She hangs a red cloth bag and knits a sweater under the shade of the tree. Antonio, who originally liked outdoor activities, is anxious to return to the Special Affairs Office as soon as possible to start his journey of superpowers. The more interested he is, the more he wants to know. He asks the three people in the Special Affairs Office about everything every day. Lin Fan was annoyed, and she really didn't know anything. In order to get rid of this guy with a strong thirst for knowledge, she asked Zhu Kunjin for an introductory textbook and gave it to Antonio to read by himself. Antonio was a person who could listen and speak, but couldn't read and write. He was really depressed for a long time when he saw the textbook full of Chinese characters, but before Lin Fan could comfort him, he cheered up again and took his mobile phone to learn Pinyin every day. This seriousness made the old lady like Antonio more and more. Now, she took the initiative to knit a sweater for him. In addition to these three main guards, the one who controls the barrier is also there. It's just that the accident of the 800 mecha made him realize his shortcomings. Now he is deaf to the outside world and only wants to meditate and upgrade. Sitting under the waterfall, the Taoist immortal look with 5 hearts facing the sky is very deceptive. Anyway, Anthony was completely deceived by him. Whenever his confidence is frustrated, he goes to see him, and then he is revived with full blood. Lin Fan was very curious about how Antonio could live to this day with such a personality, but he was also infected by his cheerful personality. He seemed to be much younger. He no longer hesitated about many things and just did what he wanted to do. Sen Fangyuan was also there. He was the only one who could seriously accompany the octopus man to fish. He had made greater progress than Lin Fan, or had better luck. His level had been recognized by Yi, and they could chat happily. To this end, Sen Fangyuan made up for all kinds of fish and fishing knowledge, striving to be meticulous and attentive, so that he could talk about fish with the octopus man. Once, when Lin Fan saw him memorizing all kinds of rare and unpopular fish late at night, he asked him if he was tired. Sen Fangyuan smiled sincerely. In life, there is no one who is not tired. This period of time is much more comfortable than my previous work. I don't have to worry about anything, just fishing. Lin Fan knew that he didn't really have to worry about anything, nor did he really only fish. A certain degree of comfort was true, but the danger was also true. As the only ordinary person in the reception group, let alone what the octopus people want to do to him, even if they want to do something or do nothing, Sen Fangyuan will always be the one closest to danger. But he has always acted calm and unperturbed, as if he has never felt any danger, or perhaps it is his calmness regardless of his own. How should I put it? Lin Fan feels that she has learned a lot from them. These insights have more or less influenced her thinking and given her many other possibilities in the future. They are free and easy in the deep mountains and old forests, but the Lion League is in chaos. Because the aftermath of the 112 incident has not been well resolved, and the aliens have not shown any interest in other resources, Song Ren, who was originally tacitly transformed, has suddenly become the trigger point of conflict, and everyone will point their dissatisfaction directly at the H-Party. It is impossible to fight outside, so why not let them fight inside? Even if the H-Party replaced the military, it did not help much in this chaos, and there were even bloodshed several times. Except for Sen Fangyuan, no one knew about this until Lin Fan received a call from Song Ren. Normally, Song Ren seldom calls Lin Fan directly. When he shows up, he usually shows up with Li Chunhua and the others, but not this time. In front of the white background, Song Ren's expression is serious. What do you mean? Lin Fan stopped fishing after hearing this. You said you also have the ability to heal. Yes. Although the wound is not big, it heals much faster than before. Look. Song Ren raised his arm, and nothing could be seen on his smooth arm. Now you can't even tell that there was a scar here yesterday. Lin Fan wanted to ask him if he was seriously injured, but seeing that the wound was gone, there was no need to ask, so he asked directly, what about Kuongli and the others? Don't they have any data from the biochemistry department? That's the problem. According to their test results, my cell activity is stronger than yours. But didn't the octopus man say that organisms don't participate in genetic work? Song Ren touched the back of his neck with his other hand. The slightly cool bulge seemed to have grown out of his body and had merged with his flesh and blood. There was no trace of aliens at all. Although the phenomenon is a good one, such an abnormality contradicts what the octopus man said. 800 is afraid that he has mutated again. After thinking about it, he decided to ask Lin Fan directly about the situation, so that the group of researchers would not be restless like ants on a hot pot every day. I'll ask. Wait a minute. Lin Fan didn't hang up the phone and trotted to find AE and the others. Because her skills were too poor, she was despised by AE, so she could only hide from them and secretly find a place to fish to pass the time. After listening to her, AE didn't even turn his head. It was still Owls who kindly gave the answer. He has the octopus gene in his body now, so there is no problem with the healing ability. Lin Fan suspected that he had made a mistake. No, didn't you say that organisms don't participate in gene work? It's just a plugin. Yes, organisms don't participate, but after the companion stone is fused, it will carry our genes and merge into the whole body, so the octopus gene content in the genes of the last so and so is higher than yours. After all, organisms are pure genes. You have to understand. Understand the hell. Lin Fan was a little mad, but didn't you say that the gene structure is stable and it is difficult to insert other foreign genes? Then why did you always emphasize that organisms do not participate in gene work? Sen Fangyuan understood beside him and quickly put down the fishing rod to comfort Lin Fan. Don't worry, let's talk it over. It is difficult to insert foreign genes into stable genes, but difficulty does not mean that it will not succeed. Otherwise, what do you think he was doing during the time he lost consciousness? You took the time to turn around and interrupt. Do you think there is no risk in fusion? Wrong. That person was lucky and didn't show it. I reminded you a long time ago. Don't blame me again. Yes, we are lucky. Sen Fangyuan smiled and pulled Lin Fan to the side to steps. I know you are worried about Song Ren's safety, but things have passed, and the results are all good. Why bother about the past? Lin Fan always thought that the danger of fusion was their response during the time when he was unconscious. Unexpectedly, Song Ren himself was also in great danger. She knew that the past could not be retrieved, but it was hard to get rid of the fear in her heart. If Song Ren had been a little less lucky, would it be? We emphasized before that organisms do not participate in genetic work because we are not sure how far that person can go. Ours still couldn't bear to see Lin Fan sad, put down the fishing rod and walked over. We are not sure how far you want him to go. If he stops at the implantation of organisms, there will be no subsequent fusion, and naturally there will be no gene fusion. He chose, succeeded, and merged. This is a fact. But what is the difference with you and Anton? They are all Langsing people who carry our genes and can transform into mechas and even have more benefits. Lin Fan understood what he said, and the octopus man did not deliberately deceive her, but she still felt indescribably depressed and angry. This emotion came more from the powerlessness of information gap and the powerlessness of their own lack of knowledge. Lin Fan, Song Ren called her on the phone, and when he saw Lin Fan's face, he showed that irresistible smile again. I'm fine, don't worry about me. As long as you know it's not a strange mutation, I'm still a beneficiary, right? Lin Fan forced a smile. Li Chunhua and the others are so envious of me, but you're sad for me. Song Ren said again. I'm not sad. Lin Fan didn't know how to express the complicated emotions. Be happy for me, Lin Fan. Song Ren called her softly, with curved eyebrows. Don't forget that you can't fall into negative emotions, not to mention that this is a great thing for me. I'm very happy myself. Can you share this happiness with me? Lin Fan looked at Song Ren on the screen, trying hard and sincerely to amuse herself, and the happy mood quickly overwhelmed everything else, and finally grinned. Happy? Of course I'm happy for you. I wish you a bright future and unlimited prospects. Sen Fangyuan looked at Lin Fan, then at Song Ren on her screen, and a light flashed in her mind, and the vague thoughts gradually became clear. Chapter 761, Denunciation. The octopus man finally couldn't stand the increasingly hot weather, and proposed to leave in mid-July. Let's not talk about how complicated the Lanmeng people's mood was. The ordinary people on Langsing were very sorry, and hoped that the octopus man would stay for a while. Many Langsing people met the group during their luxurious travels on the spaceship. After close contact with the harmless aliens, they posted their novel experiences on the internet. Maybe it was the completely opposite affinity of Grow, or maybe it was the first alien creature in the history of Langsing that was publicly contacted. In short, the octopus man began to be paid attention to and loved by the Langsing people from the moment he landed. More and more people posted their chance encounters, making the general public who could not contact them feel better and better about these three big ones. Even the smart toy manufacturers quickly developed dolls for the three big ones, and some even applied for various octopus trademarks. The octopus people didn't care about the small copyright on Langsing, but they still felt happy when they saw the miniature octopus dolls placed together with the Xingqian dolls. Sen Fangyuan bought several of them with his own money. After being on the news, the octopus fever became more and more uncontrollable. Therefore, when the news of the departure of the three octopus people was announced, there was a lot of lamentation and regret on Langsing. But everyone also knew that it was only a matter of time before they left as guests. So I don't know who started the action of preparing farewell gifts for the octopus people, and some bloggers collected electronic blessings. In short, the people were very lively. And what about the Lanmeng? While they were relieved, they were more discouraged. The plan of exchanging gifts for resources ended in failure due to the octopus people's lack of desire. Although they prepared 2 super large fish tanks for the octopus people to play fishing games in the spacecraft, they also knew in their hearts that it was difficult to exchange such common resources that could be seen everywhere for any substantial resources. Want companion stones? It's basically impossible. So after venting their anger on the H-party, the various forces focused their attention on the 2 companion stones salvaged by Laop. Those are the only 2 rare resources on Langsing. Aoi had not yet gotten rid of the joy of attacking the H-party, and in a blink of an eye he became the party being attacked. Needless to say, he was in a mess. H took this opportunity to launch a fierce attack on Laop from a moral high ground, and by the way, avenge themselves. The more miserable Ov is, the more he cannot let go of the companion stone. What does the companion stone represent? Mecha transformation resources. The only 2 on Langsing are in the hands of their P country. What does this mean? As long as they are used properly, P country will soon be able to add 2 more living top combat forces. Who will dare to act like a boss in front of them at that time? Humph. Ov held onto it, and H didn't care at all, secretly poking and stirring up trouble behind the various forces. Seeing Laop, the former great white shark, being bitten by a group of piranhas, he was fidgeting behind the scenes, but he was as still as a mountain on the surface, hiding his merits and fame. Finally, a Western force that had once colluded with Laop couldn't bear it anymore, and used some unknown method to steal the companion stone. I wanted to take it for myself, but I couldn't get rid of the other party's pursuit. With the idea that I couldn't get it myself and couldn't let others get it, I directly transported the companion stones to Lanmeng. Look, the 2 placed in the conference room are them. Next, a group of people guarded the 2 companion stones and fought for ownership. No matter how powerful Ren Aoi is, he can't fight 4 hands with 2 fists, not to mention that the stones are not under his control. We started to be good guys again, directly saying that I would not participate in this round of competition, and took a neutral identity by the way. Then we appeased one side and comforted the other side, quietly fanning the flames, keeping the conflict in an intensified state, just waving flags and cheering. The old man's idea is very clear. They already have 2 mechas, plus the abundant resources. Instead of snatching the companion stones and turning themselves into enemies of other forces, it is better to take this opportunity to divide the other side. Contradictions always increase as they quarrel. Look, the two brothers are not red in the face now, but they are about to fight. It was not until the three octopus people were invited to walk into the Lan Meng meeting room for the last time, before leaving the star, and also for the first time, that they saw the two companion stones placed in the middle and felt confused. Companion stones are considered scarce resources in their octopus. Not to mention hiding them like 800, at least they can't be placed on the table openly, right? Just like the pickle bottle placed on the dining table, it naturally puzzled the octopus people. After Sen Fangyuan quickly explained the general knowledge, the three of us were silent. If leaving these two companion stones will cause such a serious internal division among you, then we should just take them away. A waved his tentacles, and he and Ibuto each took one, easily rolled up the stone on the table, and stuffed it into their mouths. Lin Fan was a little confused for a while. How could such a big stone fit into that mouth? She always thought that their small black box was inside. But then she thought of the space bag of the special office, and suddenly felt that it was not so strange. The Lan Meng people quarreled for so long, but in the end they watched the stone disappear from their eyes, and lost their voices collectively. No. How come it's -2 when there aren't many more? Many people wanted to protest, but they didn't know how to say it. After all, the companion stones were originally the remains of the octopus people. Although they are shameless, they don't seem to be that shameless. OV didn't care about that and stood up. Sir, although these two stones have a deep connection with you, we have been on Langsing for so long, so we also have the right to own them, right? What's more, we found them, so how can we just take them away? He was like a hungry wolf whose food was snatched away, with a very ferocious tone and expression. Unfortunately, the octopus people didn't care about that, which made the guys who were once nervous about offending aliens breathe a sigh of relief. I agree with what you said about ownership, so I left two on the seabed. A, as the person in charge of the exploration, stood up to explain. I thought that there might be some other intentions for leaving so many companion stones when our people left, but Langsing has not used them for so many years. It is too wasteful, so we have to recycle them. The people of Langsing were collectively embarrassed, but we also considered the commemorative significance, so we left 3 for you, including these 2. The other one has been used in the previous conversion. But I didn't expect that you would split yourself in order to fight for them, relying too much on external forces, and forgetting that the most important thing is to promote the development of Langsing technology. We can probably foresee that your technological level will still develop slowly in 100 or 1,000 years, and the struggle will never stop like today. A didn't care about the Langsing people's gradually lowered heads, and continued his words. I actually don't understand it. Obviously, you are the same species. Why can the fight between you continue for thousands of years? Is the game between Fuxi and Ij in the beginning? Or is there still a gene left by Nuwa in your genes, with a fighting nature? The Langsing people were shocked. They deliberately concealed Nuwa's genetic experiment, but at this moment, the octopus man pointed it out nakedly. According to normal development, your technological strength should be far more than this. The last round of interstellar invasion has not made you react. Is it because the consequences are not painful enough? Aya's words fell into everyone's ears with the unique whale cry. The sound, which was not loud, was like thunder. If you had used all your energy in fighting to develop technology, how could you have fallen to the point where you are passively beaten today, trembling when encountering other species, and needing to bow your head and please them? All the Line League members were silent, as if they had been skinned. They always thought they had hidden it well, but they didn't expect that the octopus man knew it all along. Is this the ability of a high civilization? Even the insight is so high. Please calm down, sir. The old man walked slowly from the back of the crowd. He was originally going to show up after the meeting to send the octopus man on board, but he didn't expect to hear such a scolding next door. He immediately felt his own shortcomings and took the initiative to come out to ask for advice. In the Line League, the leaders were also surprised to see the old man come out. Although they all have important responsibilities, the top leaders are very careful about their lives and will not take the risk to come here. Sir, the old man stood in front of the 3 aliens and slowly bowed to them. Please teach us how Lansing can quickly improve its technological development and strengthen itself. He recognized the old man, but he didn't care too much. He just felt affirmed by his attitude and waved the 2 tentacles in front of him and replied. It's very simple. Increase the exchange of civilizations between planets. It's too difficult to wait for advanced civilizations like us to promote your technology, but you can find similar civilizations of the same level to break the limitations of your own development, learn from each other's strengths, work together for win-win results, and achieve a virtuous circle. In short, it's time for you to enter the era of interstellar travel. Look, this is encouraging them to go out. It's almost there. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762, Attacker's Defense. Interstellar travel? Everyone was amazed. Although everyone has had such a dream in their hearts, Lansing has just realized the launch of a manned spacecraft. Isn't this a big step? Sir, interstellar travel. I'm afraid we are not ready yet. The old man hesitated and replied. Why are we not ready? He didn't understand. We have ships and people. Isn't that enough? Where did the ship come from? Are you going to give us one? Someone muttered in a gloomy tone. Don't you have your own? It's right here. He took out a small black box from his mouth and projected it. It's no worse than our ship. What else is there to shout about? The countryman knew at a glance that he was talking about the shuttle. Unexpectedly, the shuttle was also discovered by them. I thought. That's right, it's an advanced civilization. Is this country? Ovi's face became more and more gloomy. He still remembered asking the old man with a smile, but that smile was mocking and very ugly. Great. Not only is there a companion stone hidden, but there is also such a big thing. Someone slammed the table and stood up, ready to denounce, but found that everyone was looking at him. Thinking about the current situation, he was short of breath for a moment, cleared his throat, and stopped talking. Sir, the old man said with a warm smile, to be honest, this shuttle was also left by Nuwa. We just discovered it by accident recently. We didn't mean to hide it deliberately, but we simply can't master the technology on it. An uncontrollable artifact is dead, no matter how advanced it is. This principle is understood by everyone present. They also knew that the old man did not lie to them, and their indignation was reduced a lot. Although we yearn for space, we know that we are not capable enough at present, and we dare not easily get involved, especially after experiencing grow. The old man said again. Our strength is almost equal to our courage. In front of you, we are really ashamed. Yi has always been used to being straightforward and is not used to speaking so euphemistically, so he let us speak. Old sir, Ars's words were very gentle, probably because he was concerned about the old man's identity. We don't want to forcibly interfere with the development of your planet. But there is one thing you may have overlooked, that is, Grow's arrival has forcibly pulled you into the interstellar era. The old man paused. I would like to hear more about it. In fact, in your history, there have been many traces of the emergence of alien civilizations, including our octopus people, but most of these civilizations visited in a friendly manner, so they came and went silently, and most of them had a short-term and efficient promotion effect on the development of Lansing. Ars's voice was much softer than A's, which made everyone's heart slowly settle down and think carefully about what he said. Yes, we are very grateful for the help and support of all our alien friends, and we also ask you to go back and send our most sincere greetings to our fellow people in the Atlantis civilization when you meet them. The old man was naturally fluent in his polite words. Okay. Ars agreed first, and then continued, although most alien civilizations come and go for various purposes or reasons, maybe you are too weak, maybe you are too far away, but Lansing has not been invaded by alien forces for such a long time, and it is also the result that they did not expose you. But Grow came and left. Do you think Lansing can still maintain its previous stability? Are you saying Grow will retaliate? The old man frowned and asked. But we have evaluated before. that his ship has suffered too much damage, and in a short time. The word stopped here, followed by a dead silence that lasted for 5 or 6 seconds. The old man suddenly thought of something, and his warm face could not be maintained for a while. You thought about it. In advanced civilizations, time is not a downward line. It can jump. Ours nodded. So your security is almost equal to nothing. How to jump back and forth through the limitations of time and space is still a problem for the current octopus people, but their fellow tribesmen can travel to Langsing thousands of years ago, and it is not necessarily that other life forms cannot. There are too many holes and storm clouds in the interstellar, and opportunities are countless. Let's not consider the result of Grow crossing the timeline and coming back. Even if we follow the normal timeline, your development cannot be faster than this. It is very likely that when their ship is repaired and flies over again, you will still develop slowly and be unable to resist. What will you rely on at that time? Are all your mechas still alive? Is the barrier energy enough? Even if Grow abandons you, if he wants to, he can spread your coordinates maliciously. In our level of civilization, there are many planets that like to occupy planets and plunder resources. How many waves can you resist? Every time Oz said a word, the old man's heart sank a little. They had never thought about it from this angle, but now that they thought about it, they felt that Langsing was always in crisis. What should we do? Ovi said. No one wants to experience an attack like Grow again. The best solution is that Grow disintegrates and disappears before encountering any evil forces, but this is unlikely. The structure of the space fortress of advanced civilization is complex, and even if half of it is damaged, it will not affect the functions of other parts, but only reduce power consumption and volume. The people of Langsing were disappointed. It is not so easy for a group of advanced civilizations to disappear, unless an equal or higher civilization takes action. I think, instead of counting on that, you might as well pray that Grow encounters non-evil forces during his journey. Will non-evil forces not cause damage to Langsing? Ovi asked. You can understand it that way. But you must know that planets have attribute divisions, and so do people. Non-evil forces can only guarantee that they will not attack you with the power of the planet, but cannot guarantee that independent creatures with malicious tendencies will come on their own. It's just that they are all small spaceships. Compared with the whole tribe like Grow, the damage is almost negligible. In other words, if Grow told a group of bad guys about Langsing, then this bad guy is likely to come to Langsing to steal, and the specific result depends on the opponent's strength and Langsing's defense. This is the case when the power or planet behind this person has no aggressive tendencies. If they happen to encounter a planet or power that needs to seize territory, then it will be game over. There is no need to consider the strength issue. The other party can get the news of Langsing from Grow, which means they are at least evenly matched, or even stronger. No matter what, they can't be too weak, otherwise, with Grow's temper, he can't talk back to the other party, and they are simply unable to take it down. Lin Fan has a feeling that a bad guy will jump out of Langsing at any time, and a new round of nightmares will begin. Can he still survive? But you don't have to worry so much. Oz probably found that the people of Langsing were collectively silent, and added, according to Grow's injuries, he will most likely not return to the civilization dimension characterized by plunder, which would be a devastating blow to him. We estimate that he will recover on the way to the middle and low level civilization, and he will also have to avoid various unknown forces. He will wait for the situation to stabilize before waiting for an opportunity to act. If they find a more suitable planet on the way, they may directly plunder it. Even if they want to retaliate against you, it may be a long time later. After all, the distance between stars is too far, and if the civilization level is too low, the energy is also tight, and it is not easy to come here. The people of Langsing finally felt relieved. So what we are mainly on guard against are the unexpected visitors attracted by Grow's information spread on the way. The old man quickly sorted out the basic ideas. That's about right. Excluding some extreme situations in time and space, you are most likely to face a small surprise arranged by Grow for you. The specific situation and time are difficult to predict, but those who can sail to Langsing are much stronger than you. Then our spaceship can't leave. Ovi didn't understand. Wouldn't it be better to protect Langsing if the best strength and weapons were left there? Oz seemed to sigh. You're right, but you were talking about defensive measures, but what I said was, offense is the best defense. The old man said in a sonorous voice. Yes, that's right. Ours agreed, although I'm not asking you to really attack, the meaning is correct. Using offense as defense, and by the way, you can also absorb the advanced civilizations of the same level, to break through the barriers of Langsing's development. What better countermeasures than this? Yesterday, the release of the chapter was unexpectedly blocked. It was fixed, after changing a few words. I was speechless. It's okay, I won't write about these later. I'm going to develop in the Interstellar. You can't say anything about me. It's hard. It's raining here these days, and it's wet, but the temperature has risen a lot. The cold is also getting better. Love you guys. Chapter 763, Take You for a Walk. The old man quickly realized the intention of the octopus man, to let them fly the shuttle, to find other civilizations in the Interstellar. The first is to check for deficiencies and fill in the gaps. If they can encounter a planet with the same level of technology as Langsing, they can learn from their experience, and see if they can use it for themselves. If they can establish interstellar diplomacy, they will surely be stronger. If they think more beautifully, Langsing will establish cooperation and alliances with countless planets, and achieve mutual benefit and mutual assistance. Naturally, the development of all aspects will be faster than their own development, right? The world tree of the ugly woman is full of high technology, but they have studied it for so long, and have only analyzed a little bit. The progress is scorching. It can be seen that there are still many restrictions on the development of science and technology, and sometimes the support from the outside world is not the higher the better. The second is to go out, see more and think more. They didn't know that so many aliens had come to Langsing. If Gro hadn't taught them a hard lesson, they would still be longing for alien creatures while enjoying their self-proclaimed high scientific and technological achievements. Going out more and seeing other planets and new species in the interstellar is also one of the ways to increase knowledge, broaden knowledge, and help Langsing improve its strength. It was like they had heard so many interstellar stories from the octopus man, which seemed to be of no help to Langsing's strength. But when they really came into contact with interstellar related things, they would find out how important and valuable these known experiences were. Another thing was that the old man felt that going out now, although he felt caught off guard, felt that he was not ready for this or that. But on the other hand, when would he be ready? You know, it is impossible for Langsing to build a shuttle or a spacecraft like the octopus man's current spacecraft with the current level. It is not difficult to imitate the appearance, but they do not understand any of the key core technologies. It is unknown how long they will have to wait for them to be able to produce such high-tech products. Now that there are ready-made means of transportation, it seems that even the operating instructions are in hand. Why not boldly take a chance? As the old saying goes, the bold will die of overeating, and the timid will die of starvation. Since Langsing is destined to be exposed to the interstellar after the Battle of Gro, it is better for them to control their own subsequent destiny. It is fine if they don't know how big the galaxy outside is, but now that they know it, they are still shrinking in the Milky Way and being complacent. Aren't they going down the same old path, destined to be beaten? Watch more, learn more, and make more progress. The old man confirmed his thoughts without much hesitation. Jin Sichin, who was accompanying the goddess diligently at the clown's place, didn't know that the next wave of pressure had already hit him. In the Lan Meng office, everyone looked at each other. Although the cake drawn by the octopus man was very beautiful, how could it be as practical as the companion stone? But under the pressure of the situation, no one stood up to say this. Even the shameless people still need that fig leaf. Since the current situation cannot be reversed, and the old man of the H party is willing to take the lead, then they will follow suit and pick up the leak. Your words make sense and point out the direction for us, but it's too sudden. Even if we start preparing immediately, we will inevitably be caught off guard. I'm afraid it will be difficult to make the trip in a short time. The old man was calm and regained his warm smile. Let alone a spaceship, even if it is a plane, the personnel deployment and material preparation are not something that can be explained in a few words. What's more, there is a clown standing in front of the shuttle to be dealt with. Yes, we should take it step by step. Ours agreed. Langsing is willing to go out now, which is very encouraging. Not to mention them, even if the octopus want to travel far into the stars, it will take several months to prepare. How about this, as compensation for taking your 2 companion stones? Ars thought for a while and said, our next plan is to fly to the inner circle of the solar system. Although there are no living things in it, since we are here, we still need to record everything. When we leave and pass Langsing again, if you are ready, we will take you for a while and teach you some basic operations in interstellar navigation. The old man was overjoyed. Experience is something that can only be encountered by chance. If the octopus man can lead them out of the novice village, the development of the interstellar will progress much faster. Thank you, sir. This is exactly what we need. I just don't know how much time we have to prepare. I'm afraid we won't make it in time. Als didn't know either and shook his head slowly. It's not certain yet. It depends on the specific itinerary. But according to the estimated distance, it should take 3 or 4 months. Plus the return trip, it may be between 5 and 6 months. If the time difference is not much, we can wait for a few days. It just can't be too long. You can try to arrange it. Okay, thank you very much. The old man stepped forward and held Alz's tentacles with both hands. Your help to our Langsing is really precious. I can't express my gratitude in words. As the old man spoke, he took 2 steps back and bowed deeply to the octopus man respectfully. This old man, who dedicated his life to H country and could call the wind and rain on Langsing, bent his straight spine for the future of Langsing and his people, and lowered his head, which was always high, and did not raise it for a long time. Seeing this, everyone on the H side immediately bowed. Lin Fan and Mijiro, the H party personnel standing behind the octopus man, also bowed their heads the moment the old man bowed. The whole conference room bowed instantly, and the leaders of other forces followed suit. Although they didn't understand what was going on, they couldn't be too unsociable, otherwise they would be hated by the H party, and they would suffer. In this way, people passed on the news, and in a breath, everyone who could move in the control room bowed to the 3 octopus men. Even though the octopus men didn't care about these, they were shocked for a moment. If they were vain, they would definitely get great satisfaction at this moment. After all, the old man was old, and he began to feel dizzy after bending for a while, and the whole person began to shake and become unstable. Lin Fan rushed over ours and rushed to the old man to support him and handed him to Shenbei, who was a step behind her. By the way, he exchanged glances with him and quickly retreated after receiving a wink from the other party. Now that the interests have been negotiated, the next step is the dispensable greetings and gift giving. When they saw the huge fish tank, A and Ibutu both waved their tentacles to express their happiness, but Oz was able to remain calm. After they handed out the gifts from the people, they were overwhelmed by all kinds of toys, flowers, and gift boxes of all sizes, and Oz couldn't help but be moved. The blessings of the Blue Star people were clearly conveyed to the giant octopuses through their special translation software. They suddenly understood why their fellows helped the Blue Star people develop productivity thousands of years ago, and even did not vent their anger on them after being polluted and dying by them. It really is a biological population that is difficult to give up easily. A rolled up a doll that looked like him on one side and a square scarf with their portraits printed on the other side. More than a dozen tentacles were busy and happy. I'm going to show them on the spaceship and make them envy me to death. Ibutu was no less happy, hugging left and right, and was spinning around with joy. Oz watched the staff carry boxes of gifts to the spaceship and decided to give the Blue Star people another gift. You don't have a medium and short range signal transmission device yet? I'll give you one. Chapter 764 Farewell. Of course, Langsing has signal transmission devices. The communication satellites flying in the sky and the signal towers on the ground are all of them. Even the satellite that transmits the signal from Grok, which is far away near Pluto, is already a long distance signal transmitter. But it is obvious that the medium and short distance signal transmission device mentioned by Oz is not the same as what Langsing defines. Even if they are the same, their technology is definitely more advanced and far superior to Langsing in terms of timeliness. The same signal can be delivered in a shorter time, especially in times of crisis, which can free up more preparation time. The appearance of Gro is the best example. If they had not discovered it in time, or received the news a few days later, and waited for Gro to appear and launch a surprise attack, Langsing would have no time to react at all. Even if there were also a few people from Xingqian on it, the casualties and losses would definitely be a world apart from those who were prepared to evacuate the people. Just look at those poor guys who were unprepared and almost destroyed their country. Time is efficiency. This wise saying is also applicable in the interstellar era. In the vast galaxy, distance can often be equated with time. Just like the largest unit of measurement in the world today, the light year, which looks like it means time, is actually the distance that light travels in a vacuum in 1 year. The length units commonly used by Langsing people on the ground are nothing more than centimeters, meters, kilometers, or kilometers. Once you jump out of Langsing and enter the universe, the vast space can only be measured in light years. 1 light year is about 9.46 trillion kilometers, which is just a basic unit in the starry sky. You can imagine what the vastness of the galaxy is like. After a long interstellar journey, Ars and his team have used up their long-distance transmission devices, so they have temporarily lost the freedom to contact the main star. Although there are still a few medium and short distance devices left, due to the constraints of the model, multiple devices must be deployed at the same distance to achieve a long distance effect. In most cases, they are only used for special short distance and emergency purposes. Langsing is far away and poor, so there is no need to set up a channel. The Octopus people have always been aiming for a one-time sightseeing experience, but they didn't expect the Langsing people to be so enthusiastic. Although they didn't have much contact with the people, and didn't intervene in the actual development of Langsing, they still received such amazing and concrete goodwill, which was something they had never experienced during their journey. It also made us feel that, if they didn't do something, they would lose face for the advanced civilization of Octopus. When it comes to giving gifts, you have to cater to the needs of the people and give them to their hearts to be effective. Ours knew that what Lan Meng wanted most at the moment was the companion stone, but they couldn't give it. He knew how to give gifts. It just so happened that Langsing was about to start interstellar travel. With their current technology, it would be a big problem to establish an information channel with the main star after the spacecraft went far away. A spacecraft that couldn't contact the main star was like a kite with a broken string, and it would be meaningless, no matter how much data it could not transmit back to the main star in time. There was almost no need to think about it, and the most suitable gift stood out. A medium and short distance signal transmission device that could be modified to Langsing's current productivity, with detailed drawings and manufacturing instructions. The technical content of this device was not high, and it would not have much impact on their current development if it was placed in a lower civilization, but it would allow them to take a shortcut. Such a good and coincidental gift is just right for Langsing now, clearing a major obstacle for the upcoming interstellar journey. The old man was so happy that he didn't know what to do. He kept holding Ars's hand and said all the compliments he could think of in his life. A and Ibuta were assigned to urgently modify the signal transmission device and reduce the material configuration to adapt to Langsing's productivity. Because they had received too many gifts before, they did not show any reluctance, but were full of energy and did not let the Langsing people outside wait too long. Lin Fan and Antonio transformed again and escorted the spaceship through the barrier to the main ship. The main ship, which was originally parked next to the moon, had slowly started up, and without waiting for Ars and others to arrive, it turned the bow and sailed away. Ars saw this and asked the two to stop sending them off, and they had to speed up to catch up with the main ship. Ibutu stood in the transparent control room at the top of the spaceship and kept waving more than 10 tentacles to the two to say goodbye. However, as the spaceship turned and accelerated, it disappeared in a short while. Lin Fan looked at the spaceship going away, and a feeling of reluctance arose spontaneously. When the aliens came, they were on high alert. Even though they had been living in peace for so long, until the last moment, before sending them out of the barrier, Lin Fan did not dare to completely let go of his worries, and he was always on guard in his heart. The Lan Alliance was the same. Otherwise, why would they let them guard 24 hours a day? But after all, they had been on guard for several months. especially during the time when they were fishing in the woods. Maybe it was because there were only a few of them and they didn't have to worry too much about other factors, or maybe it was because he knew there was no risk. Lin Fan's vigilance was reduced to the lowest, as if he was really playing with new friends in the suburbs. This split emotion often made Lin Fan feel uncomfortable, and he had to quickly adjust himself and stay in the best condition, which was much more tiring mentally than physically. Now that the aliens have finally left, the big stone in his heart is gone, and besides reluctance, he is more relaxed. Let's go back. Antonio was not as emotional as Lin Fan, but he still accompanied her in space and watched the spaceship enter the main ship quietly before speaking. Turning around, the blue planet appeared in front of him again. Lin Fan couldn't help but sigh. This little broken star, no matter how many times I see it, I will still be shocked. Little broken star? Antonio laughed. Do people who, like that you said this about land crossing? Xingqian turned his head and looked at Apollo beside him. The black armor reflected a soft light under the sufficient light, and the whole person stood out from the dark space. What's wrong? Antonio didn't hear a response. When he turned his head, he saw Xingqian staring at him and laughed again. You didn't realize that I'm the most handsome in the universe until now, did you? Lin Fan actually likes Antonio's self-satisfaction and personality that can make himself happy at any time. But sometimes he can't stand his shamelessness regardless of the occasion. Their headsets are all connected to the speakers in the main control room. If nothing unexpected happens, representatives of various forces in land crossing are sitting at the conference table listening to their conversation synchronized by the loudspeaker. This doesn't count the technicians in the main control room. When Lin Fan entered the main control room with the octopus man earlier, he took a special look and said that at least 200 or 300 people would listen to them attentively. Such a number of people would mean immediate social death for Lin Fan, but for a socially gifted person like Antonio, it would obviously be more conducive to his performance. Heh. Lin Fan made an ambiguous tone and found a topic that made him more comfortable. What's wrong with Little Star? This is a nickname. I still love her, no matter how ugly she is. Do you understand? Besides, our H country has always had freedom of speech, unlike you old P. He was just getting the point across when he suddenly remembered that the people of Old P were also listening. Lin Fan quickly interrupted his output and accelerated alone, leaving Antonio behind. What's wrong with RP country? We have real freedom. Antonio chased after him relentlessly. Forget it. Lin Fan didn't want to say more. Talking bad about people was not her area of expertise, let alone saying it in front of people. Hey, don't run away, explain it clearly first. Apollo chased after Xingqian from space to the atmosphere, and he didn't stop, making noise like 200 ducks. In the control room, the voices of the two echoed clearly. The other factions could not help but sneak a peek at the leaders of H and P who were sitting at the head. H remained motionless, as if they had not heard anything. Over P, however, was laughing abnormally. Oh my god, would he be driven crazy by the successive blows? First, the companion stone was stolen, and he lost control of it. Later, before he could fight for the ownership, the stone was taken away by aliens. It had not been long before he heard the silent but audible mockery of the stars. Poor. But he deserved it. A group of people sat upright, not showing any expression. In fact, some people were already very happy in their hearts, and they wanted to set off a few fireworks to celebrate that P country finally ended up like this. Some people were not so excited, but they also warned themselves that it was safer to stay away from P recently. After sending the aliens away, the visiting guard group was disbanded on the spot, and everyone went home. Antonio chased into the Special Affairs office and pestered ZHU Kunjan to arrange for him to study hard in the Supernatural Academy and make progress every day. Lin Fan had nothing to do, so after eating and drinking, he decided to go to 800 to see Song Ren. Octopus finally left. Oh my god, I wrote so much, but they actually did a lot of things. The next step is the preparation stage before departure. The plot has been moving fast recently, right? Does it feel like it's flying? A plot has passed in a flash. In order to shorten the length, I skipped many things that I felt unnecessary to expand on. Not bad, right? Love you guys. Love you guys. Chapter 765 The Secret of the Broken Sword. When Xingqian landed in the 623rd field, Song Ren's red mecha was being tested in the field. Recently, he has been undergoing various tests and training in the 623 underground laboratory and has done a good job in basic adaptation. It's just that the time is still relatively short and his proficiency cannot be compared with Lin Fan and Antonio. So when he said goodbye to the Octopus Man later, he didn't call him, but let him continue training in 800 with peace of mind. As soon as Xingqian landed, he dismantled the mecha, revealing Lin Fan, who was wearing a black slim short t-shirt, denim shorts, and plastic flip-flops. She took out the 800 badge from her pants pocket and pinned it on her collar. She greeted the people she met in a familiar way and stepped closer to the red mecha. "How is it?" Lin Fan looked up and asked Song Ren, "Are you still weak now?" As soon as this question came out, all the busy people around stopped. As expected, it was still Lin Fan who dared to talk to the big devil Song without any scruples. Song Ren's heart, which had originally jumped up when he saw Lin Fan, seemed to be poured with a basin of cold water, and it was cold. "This matter can't be resolved, right?" Ahem. Zhang Zhaoji cleared his throat and quietly reminded Lin Fan, "If you ask this question, no man will answer with certainty." Lin Fan didn't think too much when she asked, but she felt a little embarrassed when Zhang Zhaoji pointed it out. This. She scratched her short hair that had grown below her ears, and for a moment she didn't know what to say, so she simply stopped thinking about it. Just asking if his body can bear it. "Oh. That's what I meant, you all know it." The crowd of onlookers were busy with their own things, but their ears were perked up, wanting to hear what Song Ren's reaction was. "Ignore them, I'm fine." Song Ren's smiling voice came from the mecha. "This is Lin Fan. If it were anyone else, at least a killing look would be inevitable." Zhang Zhaoji also put away the joke and shared the tablet in his hand with Lin Fan. "These are the data of his mecha. You should be able to understand it, right?" Lin Fan reached out and flipped through a few pages, which were comparable to Xingqian's data. "Isn't this already good?" "Yes, it's all good. And we have discovered the secret of the Fuguang weapon." Zhang Zhaoji raised his eyebrows and winked at Lin Fan, waiting for Lin Fan to ask. But he didn't follow his routine at all. "Fuguang?" Lin Fan was stunned for a moment, pointing at the red mecha and asked, "Is it officially named Fuguang? What about the previous Fuguang?" Bionic Armor number 1 was originally named Fuguang. It was the first unit of the 800 Mecha Core project. In addition, the pilot was Song Ren, which had a special significance and status in the history of Langsing Mecha. She had thought before that Song Ren's biological armor would definitely have a resounding name, but she didn't expect to use Fuguang directly. Yes, after all, Song Ren and the name Fuguang are bound together. The previous Fuguang was changed to Fuguang number 1, and no other pilot will be found for him. It will eventually be received in the museum for display and backup. Country P had made such a display in the museum before, and it had scared Lin Fan. After the plan to build a mecha core was put forward by Country H, there was a plan to open up a place in the high-tech venue to display these mechas. Originally, they wanted to build another one and put it there, but now it seems that they can just pull it over and put it there, which saves a lot of trouble. 623 also studied it and felt that it would be better for the mecha title to follow the driver. After all, most of the time, the mecha and the driver are equal. Therefore, no matter how the mecha evolves and upgrades, and how its appearance changes, generally speaking, as long as the driver does not change, the title of the mecha he drives will not change. Of course, special circumstances are excluded. Lin Fan nodded after getting the answer, but he began to feel sad for Fuguang number 1 in his heart. It is said that all things have spirits. If Fuguang number 1 also has a spirit, will it be lonely and cold after being separated from Song Ren, who has been supporting each other? Hey, Zhang Zhaoji saw Lin Fan suddenly become dazed and waved his hand in front of her. "What are you thinking about?" "Nothing." Lin Fan scratched the tip of her nose and quickly pulled away from the strange thoughts. "Didn't you say that you discovered the secret of the weapon? What is it?" Zhang Zhaoji's desire to confide was interrupted by her 2 interruptions, and it was no longer as strong as at the beginning. "Hey, haven't you seen Fuguang's knife?" Don't you think it's a little strange? Fu Guang had been listening to the two people talking quietly beside him. Hearing this, he cooperated and pulled out a knife from his waist and stretched it in front of Lin Fan. The knives that Lin Fan had seen were just kitchen knives and red silk iron knives used in martial arts performances, the kind that crackled when swung. The knife in front of her was different. It was long, straight, thick, and single-edged. If this feature was not too obvious, it would seem to be no different from a double-edged broadsword. It was just too short, and the end was a wavy cross-section, as if it was broken off. So she intuitively felt that this was a broken knife, but she was not sure in her heart. The one in his hand is a straight blade, with a short handle, a small guard, a thick blade spine, and heavier weight than an ordinary thin blade. From the appearance, it is closer to a ring-handled sword, suitable for chopping and stabbing from a distance. Zhang Zhaoji fondly stroked the black pattern on the blade and explained to Lin Fan. Chopping is obvious, but stabbing from a distance. Lin Fan pointed at the wavy end and drew a stroke on the length of the blade. Are you sure? Stabbing from a distance has a certain distance standard. Although the broken end has a point, it is not completely impossible to stab, but at most it is only half the length of an ordinary knife, not much longer than a long dagger. No matter how you look at it, you have to get close to stab. Don't be impatient. Isn't this going to be a secret? Zhang Zhaoji became proud again and winked at Fu Guang. Fu Guang flexibly turned the knife in his hand half a circle, held the knife in his backhand, and inserted it into the armor that was raised on the side of his thigh. When he pulled it out, the knife became a normal length. Lin Fan blinked and moved to the middle of the blade. The wave-like fracture was perfectly integrated into the pattern, and it was impossible to tell that it was half a piece just now. Is this okay? Xingqian's double swords were actually also combined and split, which was not unusual, but the hidden position of Fu Guang's parts was different from hers. She even leaned over to the outer part of her thigh to take a look, but naturally she couldn't see anything. There's more. Zhang Zhaoji raised his head again with a beaming face. Fu Guang changed his hand to hold the knife and thrust it into the left thigh again. Look, with this length now, it's not a problem to kill a horse. Zhang Zhaoji couldn't wait to move closer. Look at these black grooves. They look like patterns on the surface, but they are actually blood guiding grooves. Lin Fan couldn't hear what Zhang Zhaoji was talking about. In front of her, the red Fu Guang stood majestically with a long sword, with an unstoppable posture, just like the person inside. So, the diversity of this biological form has surprised us again and again. Zhang Zhaoji finally concluded his long speech. I just don't know what the source of the change of form is, whether it is controlled by self-consciousness or affected by other external factors. TSK, the things of high-dimensional civilization need further exploration. The staff came forward to report. After Zhang Zhaoji checked that all the items were correct, he said hello to the two of them and led them away. When Lin Fan turned around, the Mecha had turned into Song Ren, who was looking at her with a smile. How come Song Ren loves to laugh so much after he got better? Could it be that, after going through hardships, he found that life was particularly beautiful? Lin Fan muttered in his heart and grinned at him. Do you want to go to dinner? I'll treat you. Chapter 766, Eating and Chatting. Eating, in many cases, is not just to fill the stomach, but more often it becomes a means of socializing. Just like Lin Fan now, she is not hungry, but she really doesn't know what to say to Song Ren, so she simply invites him to eat. Besides, Song Ren has just finished his transformation, and theoretically he also needs to replenish his energy. She is so considerate. Lin Fan gave himself a thumbs up in his heart, and happily took the elevator to the ground. Coming out of the cool underground, the temperature of the ground, which was not hot to begin with, made people feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, the small tram was ventilated everywhere, so it was not so uncomfortable. It was not until she entered the cafeteria and was enveloped by the cool breeze again that Lin Fan sighed comfortably. Humanity still cannot do without high technology. Song Ren looked at her with a smile on his face and walked to the window side by side with her. Along the way, many people greeted Song Ren, and many people recognized Lin Fan and shouted Miss. Lin Fan hadn't heard this name for a long time, as if he was instantly pulled into the memories of that time period, which was hard and warm, and he kept waving his hands. The cafeteria, which was relatively quiet, suddenly became noisy. The newcomers who didn't know what was going on asked who the eldest lady was. Those who knew Lin Fan took out their phones and sent messages to their companions, spreading the news widely. It's still lively here. Lin Fan finally walked to the window for serving food, took a tray inside. When the people around saw her starting to serve food, they were too embarrassed to disturb her and quietly withdrew, but their eyes still unconsciously glanced at her. Isn't the special office lively? Song Ren also took a tray and followed her. It's lively, but not this kind of lively. Lin Fan replied, and turned back to say to him, don't be polite to me, just take it, rich woman, there's plenty of money. She turned around and deliberately patted the special badge on her collar. The dark red badge inlaid with rubies reflected various streams of light under the light, which was very suitable for the identity she wanted to show off. Yes, rich woman. Song Ren chuckled, knowing that there was a considerable living allowance in her badge, and he had never had the opportunity to use it, so naturally he would not be polite to her. Lin Fan took what she had eaten before. Although she didn't need to replenish her energy, she thought Song Ren might eat a lot, so she filled up a tray. Looking back, Song Ren also had a full tray, many of which were familiar to her, and she used to eat. Is this enough? Lin Fan was afraid that he would be hungry. I used to be able to eat 3 plates by myself. You don't need to save money for me. Enough. Today is just a routine test. It didn't consume much energy. Most of it was taken for you. If it's really not enough, just take more. Song Ren smiled. Well, the two of them were afraid that the other would be hungry, so they took too much. But it's not good to put it back. Anyway, eating more can be considered as accumulating energy. Lin Fan didn't hesitate to take people to pay. After sitting down, the two ate and chatted. Lin Fan asked Song Ren about his recent adaptation, and Song Ren asked Lin Fan about the relevant matters when the aliens left. After going back and forth, they soon returned to the familiarity of the past. Can you pass through the barrier directly without the operation of the ugly woman? When he heard this, Song Ren couldn't help but speak out. I thought the barrier would isolate everything once it switched to defense mode. That's true in theory, but don't I have the energy of the world tree in me? It must have been accepted as a part of it by default. Lin Fan stuffed a piece of crispy meat into his mouth. As for Anton, wasn't he electrocuted by me at the beginning? Later, in order to save him, I somehow got some of the energy of the world tree into him. That's it. Song Ren nodded. That's good. I heard that the ugly woman is very difficult to work with. It's better to not bother her than to bother her. Yes, we think so too. Lin Fan grinned, but later, they should also take you to the ugly woman to get energy. After all, Anton and I both have it, and it's not reasonable for you not to have it. When it comes to attack and defense, being able to freely shuttle through the barrier is still a great advantage. Cui Yan probably has already arranged this matter, and it shouldn't be Lin Fan's turn to worry about it. I heard that the ugly woman has a bad temper. Song Ren naturally knew Cui Yan's temperament, and began to ask about the key person he was about to face. Well, it's not good. Lin Fan nodded, but it's normal when you think about it. She was originally a goddess, but was betrayed by her lover. When she woke up, 1,000 years had passed and everyone she knew was gone. She was left alone on Langsing to guard Nua's things and her promise. TSK, so pitiful. Didn't you say you don't get along with her? Song Ren heard that Lin Fan and the ugly woman fought to the death when they first met, and Xingchen also got a blessing in disguise here and was electrified. Yeah, she wanted to dig our brains at that time, so how could we be polite to her? We fought desperately, and in the end no one won, so it was barely a draw. Lin Fan smiled. Anyone who sees an opponent who almost killed them wouldn't be in a good mood, but this doesn't affect my understanding of her. In fact, she is also very powerful, and has always kept her promise. In a way, I admire her. So you think the ugly woman is a good person in your heart? Song Ren asked with interest, but was rolled his eyes by Lin Fan. You are already so old, why do you still think in black and white? Lin Fan put on a teaching attitude. I'm not sure whether the ugly woman is good or not, but she will definitely do what she promised. I think she is a very reliable person. Song Ren smiled. I have never seen you think so highly of others. Who said that? Lin Fan retorted. I think highly of you too. Before Lin Fan finished speaking, he felt a slight change in the airflow on his shoulder, and he stretched out his hand sharply to grab and twist it. Ouch. Lee Chunhua's hoarse voice sounded. It's me. It's me. Lin Fan withdrew his hand as soon as he shouted, you sneaked over here to scare me, didn't you? Give you a surprise. Lee Chunhua rubbed his hands aggrievedly. You didn't even tell us that you were coming. Of course I also had the intention of scaring you, but I didn't expect you to be so cruel. Of course, he knew that he couldn't approach quietly from the blind spot of a professionally trained person, and his body, which had been beaten countless times, would automatically respond to stress. Just like they themselves, it is impossible to be attacked by surprise. But he didn't expect Lin Fan to be so powerful. His impression of her physical fitness still stayed before Lin Fan left 800. Well, I received the surprise. Are you satisfied? Lin Fan asked him with a smile. Lee Chunhua's face fell. I didn't mean it, but I didn't expect your strength to improve. If it happens again, I will definitely. Song Ren was very dissatisfied with the result of Lee Chunhua being clamped by Lin Fan. Although Lin Fan had a high agility bonus, Lee Chunhua's underestimation of the enemy was his shortcoming. He didn't want to see Lee Chunhua making excuses for his failure, so he asked him to practice more. Lee Chunhua, you. Lee Chunhua seemed to have just realized that Song Ren was there and jumped up as if her but was on fire. I'm going to get food. I'll talk to you later. Gao Fei and Jiu just ran closer and saw Lee Chunhua turned around and ran away. The two people who didn't know what was going on nodded and said hello to Lin Fan and Song Ren, and then went to chase the troubled Lee Chunhua. Lin Fan looked at a group of people coming and going inexplicably, then looked at Song Ren and laughed. He's still that fool. Yeah, he hasn't improved at all. He deserves to be trained to death every time. Song Ren couldn't help laughing. Song Ren remembered Lee Chunhua's kindness, his stupidity, his worries and tears. It was precisely because of this that he wanted to help him correct the various problems that would lead to danger. It's a pity that Lee Chunhua, this fool, would scream every time he was trained, but he would forget everything as soon as he turned around. He only remembered to eat, but not to be beaten, which made Song Ren helpless. I didn't expect you to be so powerful now. Song Ren praised. No. Lin Fan was still being modest, and then he heard Song Ren say again. Do you still remember the previous bet? Lin Fan blinked, his eyes widened. It can't be. Although it's so late, I still want to ask, are you willing to compete with me and put an end to this unfinished bet? Chapter 767, Unfinished Bet. Lin Fan's first reaction was to see Song Ren lying on the hospital bed in dejection. She shook her head to get rid of the strong image. Song Ren was sitting in front of her. Why did he keep remembering these things in the past? Don't want to? Song Ren was a little surprised to see her shaking her head. After all, before Lin Fan left 800, he was full of confidence and high spirits to defeat him. No, this is a bit sudden. I need to think about it. Lin Fan waved his hand hurriedly. Think? Song Ren lowered his eyes and thought about it, not understanding what Lin Fan was worried about. In Lin Fan's mind, the first reaction was to refuse to fight Song Ren, and the second reaction was actually afraid that Song Ren would not be able to beat him and would hurt his self-esteem. Yes, that's how confident he is. No matter how powerful Song Ren is, he has just recovered in the past month. She dare not boast about her strength, but when it comes to cold weapons, she believes that no one can match her. In addition to the agility that Shen Bei praised, well, Song Ren seems to have agility now, so the gap has indeed become smaller. But fighting with Song Ren, the broken picture gathered into him lying on the bed with no hope in life. No. She couldn't do it. Lin Fan shook his head like a rattle, and the refusal was obvious. Aren't you dizzy? Jiang Yu stood aside with a plate in hand. She knew Lin Fan was back, so she came to the cafeteria to eat. Unexpectedly, as soon as she approached, she saw this woman looking crazy. Song Ren opposite just looked at him with a smile. Is his nerve really repaired? Jiang Yu doubted. Lin Fan stabilized his dizzy head, and when he looked up and saw the bright and beautiful young lady, his eyes brightened a lot, and he patted the seat next to him and greeted her. Come on. Come and sit down. Jiang Yu didn't hesitate and sat down. I just saw Lee Chun-ho and the other three hiding over there to eat. Why don't they come over? Lin Fan looked in the direction she pointed, and sure enough, he saw Lee Chun-ho who had been peeking at them. Don't worry about him. Song Ren glanced over there lightly. When Lee Chun-ho saw it, she immediately trembled, like she had Parkinson's disease. Ji-yu and Gao Fei were speechless. Why did you recruit Captain Song, if you were afraid? This back and forth. People who don't know would think it was just a play. After Jiang Yu and Lin Fan exchanged a few pleasantries, he mentioned what happened just now. What did you say just now? It seems that the emotions were very intense. Nothing. Lin Fan didn't want to mention this at all. I challenged her to a fight. Song Ren didn't want to let her go easily this time. Isn't the previous bet still pending? After a few years, there must be a result. That must be. Jiang Yu slapped the table, and the dishes were smashed with a clang sound. She grabbed Lin Fan's hand and almost threw herself on him, saying with emotion, "Do you know how much I lost that time? My performance." Lin Fan really saw the tears welling up in her eyes, and after rolling in her eyes, she held them back. "Did you lose a lot?" She only remembered the bet and almost forgot how many people in the entire 800 had bet on them, and the bet was the performance of that year. Thinking about it this way, it seems that Lin Fan does owe them something. Song Ren found it funny to see Lin Fan's confused face and being led by Jiang Yu, so he interrupted to attract her attention. "Of course I lost a lot. I also bet on 2 months performance." "Oh, yes, you bet too." Lin Fan remembered, but she still couldn't believe that Song Ren would bet. Such behavior was obviously inconsistent with Song Ren's serious image. "Who did you bet on?" Jiang Yu suddenly became interested. "Myself." Song Ren crossed his legs and said lightly, "But I also bet on 1 month's performance and half a month on her, but unfortunately I lost." "Ah." Lin Fan was dumbfounded, and the meatball on the chopsticks slipped off and was quickly caught by Song Ren and put back into her bowl. "Thank you." "No, you are fighting against me, and you bet on me to win. Is it not okay?" Song Ren asked back. "It's not impossible." Lin Fan's eyes were confused, trying to find a way out from the only CPU. "But didn't we fight? There is no winner, and the bet for a month should not be counted as a win or loss, right? Are you stupid?" Jiang Yu looked disappointed. "It counts after the opening. Even if you didn't fight, the dealer wins, and all the bettors lose." "Ah." Lin Fan narrowed his eyes and thought again and again. "So Cui Yan won? If you understand it that way, it's not wrong." Jiang Yu scratched his chin. "Then he made a lot of money." Lin Fan murmured. "No wonder some people are addicted to it and can't extricate themselves." Song Ren chuckled. "Cui Yan actually used the money to upgrade 800 equipment and employee benefits and didn't put it into his own pocket. But who makes everyone dislike Cui Yan? So naturally they won't take the initiative to excuse him. Besides, it's true that Cui Yan is the winner." Jiang Yu and Lin Fan whispered to each other, and each of them scolded Cui Yan for what he shouldn't do. Then Jiang Yu said, "Why don't you agree to fight with Captain Song?" Lin Fan, who was subconsciously taking over, almost let the cat out of the bag. Seeing Lin Fan's words suddenly stop, Jiang Yu exchanged glances with Song Ren, whose expression remained unchanged, and began to analyze. "Are you afraid that he can't beat you, and it will hurt your self-esteem?" Lin Fan was shocked. Although she thought so in her heart, could she say this openly? It seems to be this answer. Jiang Yu nodded, and before Lin Fan could make a distinction, she turned to Song Ren and challenged, "Captain Song, Lin Fan thinks you are not good enough." Lin Fan's hair almost stood up. She knew that men like them couldn't stand the word not good enough. Even if others just said it, they would try their best to prove that they are good enough. Is Jiang Yu here to trick her this time? Sure enough, Song Ren's relaxed attitude changed. He didn't say anything, but just tilted his head slightly, looking at Lin Fan intently and seriously, without blinking. Although there was still a slight smile on his lips, Lin Fan felt as if he was blaming himself, and the sense of oppression escalated little by little. "I didn't mean that. She was just talking nonsense," Lin Fan explained weakly. "Oh, then which sentence did I say? Are you afraid that Captain Song can't beat you? Or are you afraid of hurting his self-esteem?" Jiang Yu was relentless and kept hitting the snake with a stick. Jiang Yu. Lin Fan was so anxious that he stared. Okay, no more jokes. Jiang Yu glanced at Song Ren again and continued to assist. Since you are not worried about these, why don't you agree to fight Captain Song? Yes, why? A strange voice suddenly came from the side. Lin Fan turned around and saw that a lot of people had gathered nearby at some point and surrounded them in a circle. Thinking that these people were losing performance because of her, she felt inexplicably guilty. Miss, why don't you want to compete with Captain Song? Are you worried about Captain Song's health? Captain Song is completely fine. I'm from the medical department, and I guarantee it. His appearance gene fusion is also stable, and the Mecha test has been completed today. Both the human and the Mecha are in very good condition. I'm from 623, and I'm responsible for my words. Yes, Captain Song now also has a Mecha body. Although he has only had it for a short time, there shouldn't be much difference in strength. We want to know who is stronger and who is weaker between you. Yes, miss, you two should have a fight. Although we have already lost, at least we can make up for our regrets. Everyone spoke at once, leaving Lin Fan at a loss as to how to explain her cowardice. Song Ren looked at Lin Fan, who was forced into a dilemma, but still refused to give in, and finally couldn't bear to continue forcing her. Okay, Song Ren spoke, and the other voices stopped abruptly, and Lin Fan also looked up at him with a slightly confused look. If she doesn't want to fight, then don't fight. I'll listen to her. Chapter 768 Jin Sichen's Fury. After the crowd dispersed, Jiang Yu glared at Song Ren angrily, and then explained to Lin Fan that he was just helping Song Ren. Lin Fan was still thinking about Song Ren's words that seemed to have other meanings, and said it was okay. Seeing that both of them were not in a good state, Jiang Yu consciously took the plate and left. Seeing that Lin Fan was still dizzy, Song Ren woke him up and continued to eat. Because of this episode, the second half of the meal was so dull that it was uncomfortable. The two of them had their own thoughts and no one spoke. Ji Yu and Gao Fei wanted to come over to say hello after eating, but seeing this, they just pulled Li Chunhe away. After dinner, Song Ren sent Lin Fan back to the cabin to rest. The things here are still in the same state as before Lin Fan left, and they would come to clean up from time to time. Lin Fan said goodbye to Song Ren with a smile, and after closing the door, he couldn't stop smiling. Obviously, when she competed with Song Ren before, she had never been worried, and she had always been ambitious to defeat Song Ren. Why was she so resistant now? Lin Fan fell on the sofa, and he couldn't figure it out even with his hair pulled into a mess. Song Ren has recovered now, and because of genetic optimization, he has gained agility and the ability to heal automatically. Why did he always keep harping on his miserable state during his low period? Is she sick again? Thinking of this, Lin Fan suddenly became more sober. If you can't figure out something, just find Jin Sichen. He is such a great psychologist. Isn't he the best person to solve these problems? After a phone call, Jin Sichen's tone was not very good, which scared Lin Fan so much that he didn't dare to talk about his own troubles and asked him first. Well, the higher-ups have assigned me a difficult job. Jin Sichen's voice was a little muffled, with a tense and gloomy tone, as if he was full of anger that had nowhere to vent. Lin Fan immediately thought of the shuttle that was taken out by the octopus man yesterday. They didn't ask you to persuade Nvchao to give up the shuttle, did they? That's right, but there's no reward. Jin Sichen joked, his voice not cheerful at all. Noah left 3 objects on Langsing: the world tree, the living water and the shuttle. Among them, the shuttle was said to be able to lead Nvchao to find Nua, so she regarded it as her last resort. She treasured it very much, and its status was second only to the world tree. The reason why she didn't stop the Langsing people from exploring and took the initiative to give them the instructions was that she knew that with Langsing's current capabilities, they could only touch and take a look. Let them see the technology of Nvchao Zero with their own eyes, which would also help to raise Nua's status. This shuttle was Nvchao's last resort to Nua. How could she easily give it up to Langsing people to take it out for interstellar travel? Let's not talk about whether it's safe or not. What if it breaks? Or what if they fly out and can't come back? If there are wild people on the ship, it is very likely that they don't want to go back to Lansing to suffer after seeing too much of the colorful interstellar outside, right? Or if they encounter a strong enemy outside, all the members are killed, and the shuttle is taken by others. Jin Sichin doesn't even need to think about the reaction of the ugly woman. The moment he learned about the matter, countless ideas popped up in his mind. He thinks he is a person who dances at the top of the trend, and he will have radical means of action from time to time, but after seeing the interstellar navigation plan, he was stunned for a long time before acting. Lansing's current level requires interstellar navigation. Even the Xianting was just sent up in the past 2 years, and now they are going to explore the outer space. They have nothing, just a shuttle. What the hell is the exploration? Jin Sichin wanted to curse, but he knew that the old man's words were set in stone, and his radicalism was not enough in front of the old man. The grievances, pressure, and various negative emotions he had suffered from the ugly woman for so long took this opportunity to burst out together. Before he could adjust, Lin Fan called. Have you thought about what to do? Lin Fan was also worried about Jin Sichin. The leader really didn't care about personnel, and let Jin Sichin face such a big thing alone. Is a female clown easy to get along with? Although her temper has been much more stable recently, it's just a matter of snapping her fingers to get Jin Sichin. Thinking about it, she was worried and asked again, how about I go with you? Please don't. Jin Sichin laughed angrily. You are just throwing a barrel of explosives into the fire. Don't add to my burden. I want to help you. Lin Fan was a little embarrassed. I know, I understand. Jin Sichin pinched the root of his nose. Don't worry, there will always be a way. At worst, I can persuade the female clown with emotion and reason, and mobilize my eloquence. Lin Fan heard that his voice was a little lighter, and he was happy in his heart. Don't worry about me. Tell me, what problems have you encountered this time? Jin Sichin was interrupted by Lin Fan several times, and the whole person was relieved. He knew Lin Fan, and he was most afraid of troubling others, especially him. He would not take the initiative to call, unless it was absolutely necessary. Lin Fan hesitated for a moment, thinking that he should not trouble Jin Sichin at this time, but he was induced by him lightly. You're talking about this, it's okay. Jin Sichin always hinted at affirmation first, which made Lin Fan feel relaxed first. Your situation is part of the sequelae of stress, but you are stressed by other people's experiences, and because of the symptoms of depression, you can't forget it for a long time, and remember it repeatedly. It's not a big deal. Relax your mind, and try not to focus on it. Cover it with more happy memories, and you will forget it soon. Isn't this the same method as before? Lin Fan sat up and asked while holding the phone. During the Chinese New Year a few years ago, they also used this happy memory covering method and went around everyone's home. The effect was really immediate. Yeah, just tell me if it works. Jin Sichin avoided the main point. It works. Lin Fan nodded. So, don't worry about whether the cat is black or white, as long as it catches a mouse, it's a good cat. In your current state, you don't need to worry about the cause and origin of the disease, as long as you can solve it. Lin Fan thought about it, and it was right. Then I'll come again. Come for what? Oh, you mean a group trip? Jin Sichin almost didn't react. It's alright, do whatever you feel happy. Anyway, now that the aliens have left, you can take a day off. Pity me. Lin Fan hurriedly comforted Jin Sichin again. Under his skillful guidance, many negative emotions were relieved. After hanging up the phone, he only remembered to arrange the trip. Jin Sichin looked at the black screen of the phone, breathed a sigh of relief, and dialed Wu Yusen's number, but no one answered. He suppressed his anger and called ZHU Kunjin again. As soon as the call was connected, he shouted angrily at the other end. What the hell is this guy Wu Yusen doing? Why doesn't he know that Lin Fan's mental condition is wrong again? ZHU Kunjin knew that Jin Sichin was under a lot of pressure, so he happily let him vent for a while, before asking about the cause and effect. On the other side, Lin Fan had found Song Ren, and she was going to see Cuiyan. Cuiyan. Song Ren felt a little surprised, because Lin Fan always avoided Cuiyan. Is it the Special Affairs Office that needs to see him for something? No. Lin Fan smiled. I want to ask him to approve your leave, so that we can go on a group tour again. Song Ren quickly thought of the pleasant experience a few years ago and agreed with a smile. It just so happened that after the Grow War, Lee Chun-ho and the others had not rested to take care of themselves and went home for the new year. It would be nice to take this opportunity to go again and create more good memories. Song Ren glanced at Lin Fan, who was full of expectations, and smiled softly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769, Reliving the Old Dream. Cui Yan's office is still in the old place, on the 7th floor of the office building. Lin Fan has been in and out of this building countless times, but he has never been up there. What are you looking at? Song Ren parked the car and walked over. Following Lin Fan's gaze, he found that she was looking at the platform that was connected to the lounge before. Do you want to go up and take a look? The lounge is still there. Lin Fan was surprised. Didn't 623 move underground a long time ago? I thought 623 was initially set up here for many reasons, but later it was found that the weight of the Mecha put a great burden on the building's load-bearing capacity, so it was moved. The area of 623 in the underground fortress is much more spacious than the office building, and it is also durable, so there is no need to worry about the floor collapsing one day. It has been so long, and the bionic armor has been updated with many new models. Lin Fan thought that the office building had been emptied and used for other purposes. The laboratory has been moved down, but your lounge is still there. Song Ren pressed the elevator floor and replied. The lounge of 623 was specially set up for Lin Fan when he was sick. It is completely different from the overall style of 800, but it is unusually relaxed and comfortable. Cui Yan's original intention of keeping the lounge was to think that Lin Fan would come back. This special place that had left her with countless memories, healing and comfortable, was also a bait. Of course, it had to be kept. Anyway, it didn't require much maintenance costs. Later, Lin Fan didn't come back, but the people in the 623 team often came to the lounge to relax. After all, such a comfortable and quiet independent space with everything you want, where everyone can relax without worrying too much, is a unique place in 800. Wu Yusen came almost every day to take care of the flowers and plants she bought, decorating the lounge with greenery. Dr. Zio became obsessed with crocheting at the end of last year. When she had nothing to do, she loved to sit in a rocking chair and tinker with some small gadgets in the sun. Lee Chun-ho often came to play games. The various game consoles and game cards here are more complete than those in the entertainment area of 800, and you don't have to compete with others. It is simply a paradise in the hearts of game lovers. Gao Fei prefers the comics here, and Ji-yu and Song Ren often come to read books during their breaks. In their boring daily life, in addition to the dormitory, canteen and training ground, there is another special place. Zhajing was the one who stayed the longest. Whenever he opened his eyes, he would definitely be here if he wasn't at work. This person who had been holding a computer and typing code for a long time had a special liking for the lounge, and he almost slept here. Song Ren pushed open the door, and Lin Fan walked in, as if she had returned to a certain afternoon when she was still a soft waste, just finished her nap, and was ready to continue to spend the afternoon. Tables, chairs, cabinets, TVs, except for the green plants. The thin blanket she had covered on the sofa was neatly folded and placed on top. Everything was still in its original state, as if waiting for her to come back. Lin Fan's nose was sour for a moment. Song Ren handed her a bottle of water. Except for the few of us, no outsiders can come in here. For Lin Fan, a special mission target, both researchers and guards in 623 had never met her before. It was easy and tricky, with all kinds of careful care, watching her get better little by little, and finally becoming a dazzling existence. All the new and unique senses became reluctant after a long time together. After everything returned to the original order, those unique feelings could only be released in this lounge. Everyone tacitly did not change the original layout, as if this would return to the time when Lin Fan was here. Lin Fan's lips trembled, and he took the water and drank a few sips. and the sourness in his eyes was suppressed. It's good, thank you. Song Ren chuckled. What's there to thank for? We should thank you for having such a good place to relax. And Lee Chun-hua, I don't know how many times he said he wanted to kowtow to you. Remember to ask him when to kowtow. Lin Fan laughed. Internet addicted teenager plus? You actually allowed it? Song Ren also took a bottle of water and opened it. He likes to play, but it doesn't interfere with training. Why should I say anything to him? Everyone has their own hobbies. What's more, you know our strength. Lin Fan nodded. That was really big. Speaking of Lee Chun-hua, naturally think of his daughter. Who and you should be able to talk now, right? Didn't we say we wanted to adopt her as our goddaughter? Do we need to have a formal ceremony this time? She just turned 2 a while ago, and she can already call people, Song Ren said with a smile. The little girl is so cute. Lee Chun-hua shows off her mobile phone to us every day. He even changed all the ringtones to Who and use voice calling daddy. You didn't see it. She was so proud. Really? Lin Fan could probably imagine. It's indeed what he would do. The two of them walked slowly in the lounge and soon came to the door leading to the rooftop. Can we still go out from here? Lin Fan stretched out his hand and pressed the door handle, and the door opened. Yes, Song Ren followed her out. Generally, when there is no martial law, these access control points don't have too many restrictions. The temperature in the afternoon was even higher, and it was a little hot that made people instinctively want to shrink back indoors. Lin Fan strode to the railing and subconsciously held the railing. Hiss, it's a little hot. Song Ren stood over. Do you still remember this place? The place where they stood was exactly where they stood on the rooftop to watch when Pangu was first tested. Afterwards, Pangu unexpectedly fell and Lin Fan transformed. It seemed that the gears of fate also started to turn from here. Of course I remember. Lin Fan put his hands on the pergola and looked into the distance. Is Pangu still there? Speaking of which, I haven't seen Pangu for a long time. Song Ren glanced at her. The shadows at noon were all under his feet, and there was no way to shade her without leaving any trace. It's still there. It has also been upgraded several times. The core and appearance are different from the original. Recently, the outer armor is being replaced. If you are interested, you can go and have a look later. Lin Fan thought for a while. Forget it, I'm actually not that interested in these. She is an art student and has no feelings for these mechanical things. If she hadn't suddenly transformed into a mecha, she probably would never take the initiative to look at any mechanical products in her life, even a screw. Later, because she had been immersed in 623 to cooperate with the development of bionic armor, although she also learned a little, but in the end, it was not her favorite. Think about it, life is really impermanent. Zhang Zhaoji, who is so crazy about mechas, can only play with figurines every day, but she, who has no interest in it, won the prize. It was unclear whether it was a blessing or a curse that a mecha like Xingqian fell on her. The two did not stay outside for too long. After returning to the lounge to cool down, they headed to the top floor. Is Cui Yan up there? Lin Fan asked, standing in the elevator car with his hands in his pockets. Yes, I've reported to him in advance. Song Ren was still standing at the door, responsible for pressing the buttons. And as a workaholic, he spends most of his time in the office. It sounds like you admire him? Lin Fan raised his eyebrows. Cui Yan was a person who was difficult to get a good impression of because of his overly demanding personality. It's not to the point of admiration, but his work attitude is indeed something I've never seen before. Song Ren thought about it, and suddenly he couldn't find a suitable adjective. I understand. Lin Fan took 2 steps forward and patted his shoulder lightly with his backhand. He is a bad person because of his personality. With a ding sound, the elevator door opened. We arrived at the 7th floor. Chapter 770, The Girl Showing Maniac. Cui Yan still had a cold face, as if Lin Fan and Song Ren owed him hundreds of millions. For someone like Lin Fan who has social phobia, such a person is no less disastrous than meeting a social bully. Lin Fan's back-out drum was already beating. But thinking carefully, Cui Yan actually didn't do anything that would anger the heavens and the people, at least not to her, so why was she panicking? Thinking this way, it seemed that it was nothing. Cui Yan watched Lin Fan shrink back and avoid his eyes when he entered the door. As he walked closer and closer, he was able to look at him calmly when he stood in front of the desk. He felt amazed in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. He listened to Lin Fan's request coldly and gave a quick reply. You can take a holiday, but group 1 and group 2 can't take it at the same time. You have to leave one group to guard. Before, the Mecha team didn't have many people, and there were no actual external concerns. It was no big deal for several people to take a holiday at the same time. Now it's not possible. After experiencing 2 groups of alien visits, the existence of the Mecha team is not just a manifestation of high tech on the surface, but it really shoulders the actual protection role. Although it is not as powerful as biological armor like Xingqian, it is much stronger than ordinary thermal weapons and equipment. The Mecha team has been officially incorporated into the Langsing defense system and has been on standby. There are only 10 people in the first place, so a collective vacation is of course impossible. Lin Fan understood and expressed her understanding. Her main purpose is to revisit the old place with the old team, and the other team members can only say sorry. After confirming with Cui Yan that the vacation will take effect from the next day, Lin Fan happily said a lot of polite words and left with Song Ren. When she got outside, she couldn't help jumping up. Wow. Lin Fan jumped towards the elevator. Li Chunhe is really going to thank me this time. Song Ren smiled at her from behind and walked forward slowly. So happy. Lin Fan turned around. Of course I'm happy. I always thought Cui Yan was very difficult to talk to. I just thought of many reasons to convince him, but I didn't expect it to be so easy. Stereotypes are killing people. It seems that I can't always think of Cui Yan as bad in the future. Song Ren saw her jump to the elevator and press the up button. His happiness was visibly overflowing, and his mood also became happy. Of course, Cui Yan was not so easy to talk to. Even if he had mentioned the general situation in the report, it would not be so simple to give the defense members a holiday. From application, review to the final approval, it would take a long time. It is impossible to knock on the door and go in and start the holiday the next day. Cui Yan is such a strict person who attaches great importance to rules and procedures. Based on Song Ren's understanding of him, there must be other reasons for the efficient vacation. Li Chunhe and others can basically be ruled out, so it must be him or Lin Fan's relationship. Song Ren kept smiling and walked into the elevator. He saw that Lin Fan had already pressed the button for the first floor before him, and his body swayed freely with the untuned humming, relaxed and lively. Such a sudden holiday gave him the feeling that it was more like an emergency task than a benefit. Thinking of the reason why the last holiday was also smooth, Song Ren had a vague guess in his mind. Upstairs, Cui Yan turned to the computer after the 2 left. Clicked on Zhu Kunjan's email, replied approved and sent it. Then opened the work archive, inserted the urgent notice of the Mecha team's holiday, and adjusted other arrangements to make way for it. Li Chunhe was so happy to know that tomorrow was a holiday. If Song Ren hadn't been standing next to him, he might not have the heart to continue the training. The people in group 2 were also happy, although it was a pity that he couldn't go to Li Chunhe's house with Lin Fan and the others to recognize his daughter, who wouldn't be happy to have a holiday, to rest and go home. Li Chunhe was so anxious that Song Ren couldn't stand it anymore and went to the field himself. He trained him so hard that he had no time to think about anything else. But when the training was over, Li Han, who was lying on the ground panting like a dead dog, suddenly jumped up and rushed to the side to find his mobile phone. Brother Li always forgets his lessons. Gao Fei came over sweating. Wrong. Jiyu also arrived. His shirt was almost soaked, but his face was not too sweaty, just red. Brother Li is dedicated to research and progress, always spurring himself with higher standards. This was said in a scholarly way like Jiyu. Lin Fan smiled and was about to speak when Li Chunhe rushed over again. Lin Fan, look, my precious daughter. These were taken recently. The phone was thrust forward. If Lin Fan hadn't reacted quickly and stepped back 2 steps, he might have been photographed in the face by the phone. This Li Chunhe has become a crazy demon who shows off his daughter. Lin Fan looked at him smiling happily and didn't bother with him. He took the phone and flipped through the pictures one by one. The cuteness and beauty of children are recognized by the world. Looking at Wu Yusen's background eyes and her innocent smile with missing teeth, Lin Fan couldn't help but smile like an auntie, and his heart softened. Is my daughter cute? Isn't she cute? Lee Chun-hua kept asking beside her. Okay, brotherly. The people from group 2 came over and teased him. Everyone in the entire 800 knows how cute our Wu is. If you don't control yourself, the whole world will know. What's wrong with the whole world knowing? Lee Chun-hua turned her head unhappily. I wish the whole world knew how cute my Wu is. After playing around, everyone went to eat together. Lin Fan and Song Ren ate a lot at noon, but it was okay if they didn't eat. But as mentioned before, eating is a social activity, so they also went to the cafeteria and took some food as a token of their company. When there are many people, there are naturally many words. In order to prevent Lee Chun-hua from showing off all the time, the others also opened their mouths and left no room for this guy to perform. Lin Fan hadn't eaten with so many people for a long time. It was lively and comfortable. Just listening to others talking was satisfying, and there was no need to think about what he needed to say or worry about what others thought or felt. It really feels younger to be with young people. After dinner, Group 1 went to Lin Fan's cabin to continue discussing tomorrow's schedule, while Group 2 had training at night and had to go back to rest. Before parting, several people noisily gave red envelopes to Lee Chun-hua, saying that they were gifts for Wu. Although they were not there in person, their thoughts were there. They were definitely going to recognize this goddaughter. Lee Chun-hua kept saying thank you and was not polite at all when accepting the money. On the tram back to the villa, she heard Lee Chun-hua talking on the phone alone in the back, calling her wife and precious daughter. The emotion was so strong that Lin Fan felt a little confused. She couldn't help but look back. Lee Chun-hua's face was smiling like an old chrysanthemum. She was completely immersed in the conversation and had completely forgotten that there were a few of them in front of her. Sometimes I feel very disconnected from that guy. Lin Fan tried to hold back, but still couldn't help but speak. Lee Chun-hua was really reliable when he was reliable, but there were also many times when he was unreliable, such as now. He couldn't be equated with the elite who drove the top Mecha. Sometimes she even wondered if Lee Chun-hua had any mental problems. I agree. I second. Gao Fenny and Jiu in the second row expressed their opinions immediately. They both felt much more deeply than Lin Fan. After all, most of the time, they were responsible for finishing. Song Ren smoothly controlled the steering wheel and smiled happily. You still don't practice enough. Lee Chun-hua at the back suddenly shuddered, lowered her voice, and said goodbye in a hurry, and hung up the phone. Boss. He turned around and leaned forward on the back of the seat and shouted at Song Ren complainingly, aren't we on vacation now? Don't give me any more extra practice. Lin Fan will make the decision for me. What will she decide for him? Lin Fan rolled her eyes. She even wanted to give Lee Chun-hua extra practice. Suddenly she understood why Song Ren always gave Lee Chun-hua extra practice. Happy New Year. Everyone eat, drink and have fun. Backquote. Heart. Chapter 771 The Happiness of a Rich Woman. There was almost no discussion about the itinerary. Everyone agreed to do it again like the last time. It was just that this time there was more time, so we could stay a few more days at everyone's home, and the trip to Lin Fan's home was replaced by a one-day trip to the special office. You really don't have to go back. Ever since Lee Chun-hua was filled with the family atmosphere, she was particularly concerned about the warmth of other people's families. No, I went back during the Chinese New Year. Thinking of the chaos of those days, Lin Fan couldn't help but curl his lips and shook his head. Why, did your mother quarrel with you again? Lee Chun-hua still remembered Lin's mother. That's not the case, Lin Fan explained with a smile. I'm now a model of 3 highs, a high job, high income, and high status. My mother doesn't easily make trouble with me. It was Antonio and John Woo. They were both there at the time, and my mother had been looking forward to my marriage. In short, the scene was extremely chaotic. It was the first time that Song Ren heard about this. He looked at Lin Fan seriously for a few seconds before looking away. What? Lee Chun-hua was shocked. Why did the two of them go? It's fine if Wu Jie went, but how come Han Meo also went, and it was New Year's Day? You didn't tell us? Weren't you busy at that time? Lin Fan smiled lightly, picked up a can of beer, and handed it to Lee Chun-hua. "Here, I apologize to you," Lee Chun-hua said casually. During the new year this year, because of Song Ren's injury, they were all depressed. In the past, they would make video calls to say hello during the new year, but this year they naturally didn't bother. Lin Fan knew the situation here, and was always thinking about Song Ren. I think he didn't tell them, because he was afraid that they would add troubles if they knew. "Hey, why are you talking to me?" Lee Chun-hua took the beer, and opened the pull ring. "Here, I'll toast you." Lin Fan picked up his coke, and clinked glasses with him. Seeing that Lee Chun-hua was about to finish it in one breath, he hurriedly stopped him. "Take it easy, don't drink it all in one gulp." Lee Chun-hua put down the beer can obediently. "I can't talk, I just feel that when you need us, we can't help you, and we don't even know." "Who said that?" Lin Fan laughed at his guilty look. "Without your help, how could there be Lin Fan and Xingchen today? There would be no Song Ren and Fu Guang today." Song Ren also said. Lee Chun-hua looked at this, and then at that, a little unbelievable and a little embarrassed. "Yes, did you?" "Of course." Lin Fan raised his glass. "Come on, come to think of it, I have never formally thanked you. Cheers to you." Everyone raised their glasses. Song Ren added, "Cheers to everyone, and to those who have helped us." Lee Chun-hua got emotional, and raised her head to drink again, and drank the remaining half bottle directly. "Alright." Lin Fan scratched his head, and seeing Lee Chun-hua's happy look, he thought it was good. They were not as sensitive to alcohol as she was. A few cans of beer were just a little bit of water, so she shouldn't worry about it. Gao Fei and Ji Yu were also curious about what happened during the Chinese New Year, so Lin Fan roughly told them. Several people listened to it with laughter, and Song Ren secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "So I won't go back to offend my mother if I have nothing to do. Where can I find a son-in-law for her?" Lin Fan teased herself. She smiled and bent down, picked up the Coke bottle from the ground, and filled her empty cup, and naturally didn't notice the way Ji Yu and Gao Fei looked at Song Ren at the first time. Song Ren interrupted Lee Chun-hua before she started talking, and began to plan the itinerary seriously. Although the transportation and horses remained the same, because of the 2 years of vacation, there was more free time, and the original itinerary had to be adjusted accordingly. In the end, it was tentatively planned to stay at Lee Chun-hua's house for 4 days, to hold the recognition ceremony, 4 days at Gao Fei's house, to spend more time with his elderly grandparents, 3 days at Ji Yu's house, one of which was to visit the Special Affairs Office, which was Ji Yu's own request, and finally, 2 or 3 days at Song Ren's house. These are not counting the time on the road, which adds up to almost 20 days. For everyone, it is a very long vacation. After everyone had no objection, Song Ren submitted the plan to the logistics department for filing, and Ji Yu had already bought the train ticket for tomorrow morning. "No, I'll do it." Seeing that he had paid, Lin Fan stamped his feet in pretended anger. "If you accompany me, I should pay." "Accompany you?" Song Ren glanced sideways. "No." Lin Fan quickly changed his words. "We were used to it before. I pay when I have money. How much do you guys make every month?" As soon as this was said, the people in the 800 felt hurt. In fact, the salary of 800 is not low, the conditions are good, and the treatment is good. Compared with ordinary jobs outside, the treatment is more than doubled, but compared with the wealth of the Special Affairs Office, it really can't be compared. "But sister, I heard that you donated all your money." Gao Fei glanced at Ji Yu and hesitated. At that time, this matter was quite sensational. Because Lin Fan donated too much, everyone was very excited, and felt embarrassed to donate less. "I heard that some units directly set hard targets, just to make the numbers not look too bad compared to the Special Affairs Office. I did donate, but didn't I get paid later?" Lin Fan clicked on her phone. The salary increased before the new year, the benefits were distributed during the new year, and the subsidies for accompanying aliens in the past few months, so I'm much richer than you. Here. She called up the bank balance page, and showed it to several people. Ji Yu leaned over to take a look, and then sat back down, while Lee Chun-hua was counting decimal points on her phone. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. Gao Fei ran to Lin Fan's back, and pinched her shoulders in a flattering manner. "Rich lady, are your shoulders sore?" Do you want a pinch? His pinch was just so-so, not very comfortable, and his hand strength was a bit too strong, but it was very interesting. Lin Fan pretended to play along. Handsome guy, is this your first time to receive a customer? Gu laughed, but Lee Chun-ho was not moved at all, and was still there, to confirm the decimal point. Gao Fei was startled, and his face was a little red. But after hearing Lee Chun-ho read out the million, he decided to finish the gag he had chosen, and continued to smile, and chop with his knife. Yes, rich lady, do you want to apply for a card from me? Do you want to apply for 50,000 or 100,000? A full million. Lin Fan smiled and said. Lee Chun-ho finally determined the balance, and continued the conversation. What do you mean by 1 million? When she looked up, and saw Gao Fei's stiff acting, she looked contemptuous. Your performance is no good, watch me. After saying that, she flashed to the other side of Lin Fan, half squatted down, and lightly hit Lin Fan's other shoulder with her big fist, while speaking in a flattering voice. Rich sister, please support me. Lin Fan turned his head in horror, and found that such an exaggerated performance did not feel out of place on Lee Chun-ho's face. Your Mio knows that you are asking me to support you, so why don't you hit you with a big stick? How can that be possible? Lee Chun-ho hit one side, and then pushed Gao Fei out with her butt, hitting the other side. Of course, my Mio is supporting me with Wu Yu. You see, buy one get two free, our family of 3 belongs to you. 1 million a month, isn't it a great value? Gu covered his face, and sneered on the opposite side. Gao Fei stared in surprise, and even forgot to sit back. Lin Fan was speechless. You are a family of 3, why don't you bring your parents? If you really need it, it's not impossible. Lee Chun-ho was embarrassed, and finally made up her mind, but it costs extra money. Lin Fan pushed the person away, and Lee Chun-ho fell to the ground, and stretched out her hand exaggeratedly. Oh, you hurt me, you have to pay. The air seemed to be still for a few seconds, and then there was a burst of laughter. Song Ren crossed his legs, put one hand on the table, and stroked the beer can, watching the few people playing with a smile, as if time had gone back to the past and Lin Fan had never left. Chapter 772, Blockhead. The next day, the 800 yuan car took the 5 people to the train station. It was the same train and the same station. Because it was summer, everyone traveled light, each with a backpack, feeling extremely relaxed. Let's go to the mall to buy a gift for my daughter. Lee Chun-ho sent off the logistics car, and rushed to the mall, as if she was familiar with the route. It was still the same mall and the same time, but this time Lin Fan had no need to buy anything. In the closet were the basic t-shirts and jeans she had left behind. Although they were styles from a few years ago, they were classic and never went out of style, so there was nothing wrong with wearing them when traveling. She picked out 2 sets of clothes and threw them into the washing machine along with her spare underwear. When she woke up, the clothes were dried. She packed them with the backpack she borrowed from Song Ren and put in the toiletries she had bought from the 800 yuan. The backpack was less than half full. The 4 people followed Lee Chun-ho to shop in the children's area. Looking at the pink clothes, pink shoes, pink socks, and pink headbands, everyone had a frown on their faces. His taste hasn't changed much. Lin Fan looked at the blue unicorn doll with macarons that he bought for Wu Yu, and was glad that Lee Chun-ho was not her husband. Do you want me to buy you something too? Lee Chun-ho was helping his wife Shimao choose a gift, and when she heard Lin Fan's voice, she suddenly asked with concern. Lin Fan looked at the fluorescent pink dress in his hand and shook her head in fear. No, just buy it, just buy it. This color hurt her eyes. After picking things, it was inevitable to have a big meal. The luxurious buffet restaurant they ate last time had closed down, and Lee Chun-ho spent a lot of time shopping, so several people didn't have time to wait for a table, so they just found a relatively empty restaurant and went in. Fortunately, the taste was okay, not bad. Because they had to catch the train, several people hurried to eat and immediately headed to the train station. When they got out of the car, they were empty-handed, but now everyone's hands were full of shopping bags. Even Lin Fan held a super large doll in his hand, and finally there was the atmosphere of catching a train with big bags. The train started to move, carrying Lee Chun-ho's heart along the way. After getting off the bus, Lin Fan thought he was going to find a tricycle again, but as soon as he got out of the station, he saw Lee's father. This way, this way. Lee's father waved to them in front of a Jinbei and quickly stepped over Lee Chun-hua to shake Song Ren's hand. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. Several people greeted Lee's father with a smile, and Lee Chun-hua had already put the bag in her hand into the trunk. Come on, put your things down first, let's go home and talk. Lee's father borrowed the car from a fellow villager, gave 2 packs of cigarettes and a bottle of good wine, and took Lee's father out to pick people up. The person sitting in the driver's seat and driving was Lee Chun-hua, who had just greeted everyone. Last time, Lee Chun-hua wanted to give her family a surprise and didn't tell them in advance. Under normal circumstances, the Lee family would come to pick her up when they knew Lee Chun-hua was going home. It was also because of this that Lee Chun-hua was not familiar with the market of 3-wheeled vehicles outside the station and led everyone to suffer a loss. Dad, does you know I'm back today? As soon as the car door closed, Lee Chun-hua couldn't wait to ask by grabbing the passenger seat. You only know how to ask Hyunyu all day long, why don't you ask your father, mother, and wife? Lee's father was not as polite to Lee Chun-hua as others and scolded unhappily. Let go, don't tear down the seat. How can I? Lee Chun-hua let go angrily. Didn't I just ask you yesterday, aren't you all fine? Lee's father turned his head and pointed at Lee Chun-hua, but for the sake of his colleagues, he didn't say much and smiled and chatted with everyone about other things. Jinbei drives much faster than a 3-wheeled vehicle, and the air conditioner is on in the car, so it's cool and comfortable. It didn't take long before we arrived at Lee's house. On the big red iron door, the door guard was half new and half old, and the corner of the spring couplet on one side was not glued well, so it was a little warped. The cicadas chirped loudly, one after another. Tiger girl, daddy is back. Lee Chun-hua got out of the car, didn't take anything, and went straight to the door. This kid. Dad Lee said to the driver, and greeted the few people who were left in the car. Don't be surprised, this kid has been stupid since he was a child. Uncle, don't take it to heart. We know what kind of personality Lee Chun-hua has. Song Ren smiled and got out of the car, turned around and stretched out his hand. Lin Fan naturally took his hand and jumped down. Yes, uncle, let's not worry about him. Let him have fun alone. We won't take him to play later. Lin Fan pressed his ears. Suddenly hearing such a loud cicada, his ears were buzzing for a while. Okay, you guys are free to do whatever you want. Just treat it as your own home. It was not the first time that Dad Lee had contact with them, so he didn't say more politely. Gao Fei and Ji also smiled and responded. Song Ren opened the trunk, took out Lin Fan's backpack and the big doll from it, and stuffed them into her arms. The other things were divided among the 3 of them, and even Dad Lee didn't let her take them. It's okay, uncle. These things look a lot, but they're not heavy. We can just take them. You go about your business. Gao Fei showed his little tiger teeth and said obediently. Dad Lee responded with hey hey, and was even more dissatisfied with the disappearance of Lee Chun-hua. He ran into the yard and rushed into the house. After a while, Lee Chun-hua was beaten out. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? Lee Han raised his arms to block his head. No matter how strong his muscles were, they were useless in front of his father. What are you doing? Dad Lee took a slipper in his hand and hit Lee Chun-hua on the back. You are a father now, can't you improve yourself a little? Just throw the guests at the door like this? Lee Chun-hua jumped back, and Dad Lee couldn't catch up with him at all. They are not guests, they are who when I use godparents. They are all our own people. I beat your stupid head. Dad Lee was very disappointed. He thought that he was smart all his life, but how could he give birth to such a stubborn and stupid son? Uncle. Lin Fan shouted and rushed up, but Song Ren was faster than him and grabbed Dad Lee's hand. Uncle, he's right. We're all family. No need to be so polite. Song Ren knew that the old man didn't really want to hit her, but was just trying to save face for Lee Chun-hua. Yes, don't hurt your hands. When you'll be worried about grandpa. Lin Fan wanted to say that Lee Chun-hua was thick-skinned and that a few hits wouldn't hurt his bones, but after thinking that he was his own son after all, it wasn't a good idea to say that, so he changed his words temporarily. Gao Fei and Ji were also persuading him. Lee's mother also came out at this time. It's so hot. Why are you standing outside? Come in quickly. The air conditioner is on in the house. Come in and cool down. Several people hugged Lee's father into the house. Shimayo was waiting behind the door, holding Yu, who looked curious, in his arms. Oh my. Look where this little baby came from. Lin Fan was so fond of the child's chubby little hands that were as white, tender, and soft as lotus roots, and he didn't care how dirty it was that she bit her fingers and drooled on her chin. He leaned over and kissed her little face. Soft, sweet, and fragrant. Tiger girl, this is godmother. Call me godmother. Shimayo smiled and handed the child to Lin Fan. But Tiger girl only stared at the big doll in Lin Fan's arms. Oh, godmother almost forgot. Lin Fan handed the big doll in his hand to Tiger girl. This is a gift for Tiger girl. Tiger girl didn't care that the doll was bigger than her and hugged the horse's head. Thank godmother. Thank godmother. Lima also came over to tease the child. Tiger girl opened her mouth and made an unclear sound of amurama. Everyone listened with a smile, automatically and consciously thinking that she had said it. Lee Chun-ho was particularly proud. Look how polite my daughter is. Unfortunately, no one paid attention to him. Even Tiger girl's attention was focused on the big doll. Lee Chun-ho was not happy, pushed the unicorn aside, grabbed her daughter's hand, and put it on her face. Tiger girl, it's daddy, your favorite daddy. Tiger girl watched the big thing run away, and her little hand couldn't pull it away. Her mouth was drooping and she cried. Chapter 773 The Wronged Father. You idiot. Dad Lee put down his slippers and bent down to pick them up again. Why are you picking up kids for no reason, uncle? Gayo Feni Mgu immediately blocked his way. Lee Chun-ho felt wronged, and he wanted to cry. His daughter had just called him dad affectionately. Why did she start crying when he was out for a while? Shimayo glared at him, put Yu's hands on the doll and patted it to coax her. Motherly kicked her son without any hesitation. Go, go, go. You're making trouble. As soon as you come back, stand aside. After finally coaxing Yu, the group sat down in the inner room. Lee Chun-ho showed everyone the gifts he bought with a grievance. Yu touched this and that on the Kang, but she still liked the unicorn doll the most, crawling over to hold it tightly. It was still daylight when they got home, and it was already dark when they finished showing everything. It gets dark late in the summer. When Lee's mother saw that it was already past 8 o'clock, she quickly got up to prepare food. Shimayo also went to help. Lee's father sat cross-legged on the Kang and watched Yu playing. Lin Fan and the other three sat by the Kang and used toys to play with the baby from time to time. Only Lee Chun-ho was ordered to stand by the Kang and not get close. Lin Fan looked at Yu's thin fingers and small fingernails. When she grabbed the toy, she pressed it on her hand. The gentle touch was amazing. She didn't like children very much. She always thought that children were noisy and troublesome. If it wasn't her own child, what was there to like? But when she really saw other people's children, she didn't know if it was because of Lee Chun-ho's feelings, but she just thought Yu was very cute. She was so cute that she felt that the world had become soft, and her words and movements became soft unconsciously. No wonder some people always say that children are hope in the future. She didn't think so before. Who is not a baby of hundreds of months old? But looking at the soft and tender baby in front of her, she felt more. After Yu played with the toys for a while, she quickly shifted her attention and became full of interest in the few more people in the family. She crawled to Lin Fan's side to touch and play, and then crawled to Ji-Yu's side to hook his finger. Lee Chun-ho suddenly remembered what Ji-Yu said before, that many children asked him to touch their heads, and hurriedly said, "Quick, touch my Yu's head too." Ji-Yu was a little speechless, but still gently touched Yu's head with her twins tied up a few times. What's the saying? Lee's father asked curiously. Lee Chun-ho took 2 steps forward proudly, approached the Kang and explained. My colleague has a very high IQ. Let him touch Yu's head, and he will definitely be the top scorer in the exam. Ji-Yu wanted to say it was impossible, but seeing the old man's expectant eyes, he swallowed it, lowered his head, and touched Yu's head twice more. Yu, Godfather can only help you so far. Yu seemed to dislike having her head touched and quickly escaped from Yu's hands and headed towards Fei. Lee Chun-hua stood next to Fei, squatted down and kept shouting, "Come to daddy, come to daddy." But it had the opposite effect. Yu passed Fei and went directly to Song Ren. Fei looked at Lee Chun-hua and saw that his face was full of surprise and sadness, but he didn't say anything in the end. Yu crawled to Song Ren's side, supported his legs, and stood up tremblingly. Under the tense gaze of everyone, she took a step forward and opened her arms to ask Song Ren to hold her. Song Ren was also surprised, but he still stretched out his big hands and held the little baby in his arms. Yu leaned on his shoulders, holding his clothes with her little hands, mumbling something. Song Ren smiled with his head down and saw that she was drooling again, and he wiped her mouth with his bib. This scene of a loving father and a filial daughter made Lee Chun-hua feel very aggrieved, but she didn't dare to go to Song Ren's side. She kept saying in her heart that her father was here, but unfortunately Yu couldn't sense it at all. When Mao brought in the dishes, she was surprised to see her daughter being so well behaved in Song Ren's arms. She glanced at her useless husband and greeted him with a smile. "Everyone has been waiting for a long time. It's time to eat now." Everyone helped to put the toys on the Kang aside, put them on the Kang table, and the dishes came up one by one. The strong aroma made the tired people's appetites wet. Mao took Yu, and Lee Chun-hua, who was sitting next to her, finally had the opportunity to get close to her daughter. The meal was finished in a lively atmosphere, and it was almost 10 o'clock when they cleaned up. Lin Fan took a bath and went to the yard to hang clothes. It was not as hot at night as during the day, and there was a little cool breeze because there were forests around the village. The sounds of crickets and frogs quack came one after another, and you could see the starry sky when you looked up. The sky in the village, probably because there was less light pollution, could see many stars. Lin Fan tried to find the Big Dipper, and when he turned around, he saw Song Ren coming over. "What are you looking at?" He looked up as he walked, holding a plastic basin in his hand, probably to hang clothes. Looking for the North Star. Lin Fan continued to look up. Song Ren finished hanging the clothes and came over. "Did you find it?" "Here." "There." Lin Fan smiled and pointed to him. Song Ren looked up and saw the particularly bright star at a glance. "Are the stars in the sky the same as those on the ground?" Lin Fan reacted for a moment before he understood what he was asking. "Most of them are the same when viewed from outer space, because they are too far away. Only the moon becomes particularly large. Do you want to go up and take a look?" She didn't know how many times she had been up there, and she no longer felt novelty and excitement, and even a little numb. But Song Ren was obviously different. He had just acquired enough ability, so it was normal for him to want to go to space to take a look. "Yeah," Song Ren responded, looking at the North Star. "I want to see it." "Don't worry," Lin Fan patted his arm. Yan will definitely arrange it for you. By then, you may feel like vomiting, because you have been there so many times. Have you ever felt like vomiting? Song Ren looked down at her and looked up at the sky again. Yeah, that period was really tiring, mainly because of the great psychological pressure. Let me tell you. After playing with his daughter for a while, Lee Chun-hua walked out of the bedroom contentedly to take a shower, only to see Ji-yu and Fei sneakily lying on their buttocks at the door. "What are you doing?" He tiptoed over. "Shh." Fei raised his index finger. "Keep your voice down." Lee Chun-hua became even more excited and forced an eye to look over. As a result, he only saw Song Ren and Lin Fan with their backs to them, looking up and chatting in the yard. "What's there to see?" Lee Chun-hua was puzzled, but did not move away. "There's nothing to see. I just don't know when I can go out to hang clothes." Fei replied in a low voice. When he came out, after washing the clothes, the two were chatting, and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. He didn't have the heart to ruin it, so he thought about waiting. As a result, Ji-yu came out with a basin, and the two were still chatting. He didn't mean to peek at the two people's gossip, but the clothes line was outside, so he just waited and waited. Don't tell me, isn't the atmosphere between Captain Song and his sister a bit interesting? Lee Chun-hua looked down and saw that Fei and Ji-yu both had clothes twisted into a ball in their basins. No, let's hang them in the house first. There's a rope in the house. Don't we hang them in the house in winter? Really? Gao Fei answered absent-mindedly, his eyes still staring outside. Jiyu leaned in front of the glass and said nothing. What are you doing? Lee Chun-ho was really stupid if he didn't realize that the two people were doing it on purpose. He also wanted to get closer to take a look, but Dadley came out and said, "What are you doing?" Dadley's voice was not small, and he didn't deliberately lower his voice. This voice directly startled the two people in the yard, and they turned around to look over. The three of them squatted down in unison, and Lee Chun-ho even made a gesture to silence his own father. Dadley understood, but not completely. After returning to the room in a daze, he stuck his head out again. "It's okay, go to bed early, it's so late." Lee Chun-ho gestured to his father to go back quickly. Just as he breathed a sigh of relief, the door behind him was opened. "What are you doing squatting here?" Lin Fan asked. Chapter 774, The Sky Covers the Earth. Brother Lee's private money has fallen, and we are helping him find it. Ji-yu stood up without blushing or panting, and handed a $1 coin that he got from nowhere to Lee Chun-ho. "Okay, I found it. Brother Lee, let's go hang the clothes first." Lin Fan turned sideways to let Ji-yu and Gao Fei come out. Seeing that Lee Chun-ho still had a dollar in his hand, he felt a little strange and couldn't explain it for a while. He just felt that it was a bit miserable for a married man to have to find a $1 private money that was lost. Lee Chun-ho looked at Song Ren behind Lin Fan, with his arms folded on his chest and expressionless, and his heart was beating again. No, this has nothing to do with him. He took a look and saw that Gao Fei and Ji-yu first. The sound of the bedroom door opening behind him was heard. Lee Chun-ho turned around and saw Shimiro leaning against the door and smiling at him. "I heard you have private money?" The $1 coin in Lee Chun-ho's hand was suddenly as hot as an iron, and he couldn't hold it. He looked at the money in his hand, then looked back at the two scumbags who were hanging clothes in the yard, and then looked at Song Ren. When he looked back again, the bedroom door was closed. Lee Chun-ho rushed over. "Wife, listen to my explanation. Wife, I don't have any private money." Huan-Yu was frightened by her father and burst into tears. Shimiro shouted from inside, "Shut up." Lee Chun-ho slid down the door and sat down, looked at Song Ren, then looked at Lin Fan, and covered her mouth, and wanted to cry. Why was he so wronged? Woo woo woo. Lin Fan couldn't handle this kind of family ethics battle. Should I persuade Lee Chun-ho not to hide private money? Or persuade Shimiro not to care about men hiding private money? After thinking about it, nothing he said was right, and finally he let go of her hand silently, turned around and went back to the middle of the yard to look at the stars. Song Ren watched the door of the house slowly close in front of him. Through the glass, Lee Chun-ho was still crying and leaning against the door. The corners of her mouth twitched, and she followed Lin Fan downstairs. Ji-yu and Gao Fei wanted to wait for Lin Fan and Song Ren to enter the house before entering, but the two turned back. Ji-yu thought about it, and simply went back to the house first. As a result, she saw Lee Chun-ho's miserable state through the door, and thought that she had put him in an unjust situation. She turned around, and walked back to the yard to watch the stars with Lin Fan and the others. Gao Fei followed Ji-yu, walking back and forth. In the end, the four of them looked up at the stars together. Because of the previous mission, Lin Fan had been instilled with a lot of astronomical knowledge, and he was very knowledgeable when talking about the stars. Ji-yu had also read a lot of related books, and from time to time he would add unofficial historical information such as mythological stories. As they talked, it seemed like a night chat tea party. But it was also tiring to look up all the time, so Lin Fan suddenly had an idea. Why don't we sleep in the yard at night? When she was young, she often slept in her grandmother's yard, looking at the sky full of stars, and gradually falling asleep in her grandmother's chatter. Thinking of this, the idea of sleeping on the ground under the sky became stronger. Lee Chun-ho's yard was a cement floor, and it might be cleaned, especially clean, to welcome him back. It didn't seem difficult to do, as long as she took out the mat on the kang and spread it. No, there are a lot of mosquitoes in the summer. Won't you get bitten to death if you sleep outside? Ji-yu hesitated. Lin Fan was a little discouraged. If you like mosquito coils, maybe it will be okay. Song Ren saw that Lin Fan's eyes were getting brighter, and he looked at him vaguely. I slept outside in the open air when I was a child, and it seemed that there were not many mosquitoes. Really? Then let's try it? Gao Fei was very excited. When it was hot in college, we also slept on the rooftop. I miss it so much. Then let's try it. Gu was actually very tempted. At worst, we can go back to sleep. As soon as they said it, several people brought basins into the house and set them up. Lee Chun-hua had disappeared without a trace and should have been put in by Mao Mio. 2 people rolled up the mat and 2 people took the blanket. Lin Fan turned off the air conditioner in the room, closed the door and went out. The floor was already covered. Song Ren lit mosquito coils not far from the 4 corners, and the 4 people just lay down. It's so comfortable. Gao Fei rested his hands on his head and looked at the night sky. It seems like I'm surrounded by the night sky. Really? I suggested. Okay. Lin Fan turned sideways and asked, but was attracted by Song Ren's profile. It was really a model face that looked like it was carved by a knife and an axe, and it was so handsome. Look at the stars. Look at the stars. She found that her thoughts were straying, so she quickly drove away those unnecessary things and continued the popular science about the stars that she had not finished just now. Lin Fan said some, Gu said some, Gao Fei occasionally asked some questions, and Song Ren basically listened. I don't know when, no one spoke anymore. Song Ren listened to the steady breathing beside his ear and turned his head to look at Lin Fan. Under the moonlight, Lin Fan's profile was very soft. She was not a particularly beautiful woman, but she had entered his heart. No matter how he looked at her, he felt happy. He used to feel inferior because of the gap between them. Every time he saw her suffering and rushing to the front, he could only have a deeper understanding of his own weakness and powerlessness. Heartache and helplessness merged into dull hatred and shrinking, burying the joy deep in his heart. What about now? Can he stand by her and have enough ability to protect her? The day before leaving, Song Ren received a call from Wu Yusen after leaving Lin Fan's residence and learned that this trip was still to solve Lin Fan's dilemma. He thought that it would be enough to let Lin Fan go to the special affairs office and have Wu Yusen protect her, but now it seems that it is obviously not possible. Some time ago, during the few months that Lin Fan accompanied the aliens, Wu Yusen could not be with Lin Fan because of different tasks. Until now, knowing that Lin Fan was abnormal, he still asked Song Ren to take care of her on the grounds that he could not interrupt his studies in the Academy of Supernatural Powers. Song Ren felt angry. Knowing that he had no position, he still asked Wu Yusen why he abandoned Lin Fan when she needed him. Wu Yusen was silent for a long time, and his answer was a little difficult. He said, I have to become stronger before I can be qualified to stand by her side. Song Ren understood everything. He looked at the face close at hand, and his mood fluctuated. Since John Woo sent Lin Fan to him, shouldn't he seize this opportunity? A new day, the sun rises as usual. Lin Fan was awakened by a scream, and when she opened her eyes, she saw Song Ren's handsome face in front of her, and he was opening his eyes. Her breathing stagnated, and her body rolled backwards. Hey, Song Ren stretched out his hand to grab him, but he didn't catch him. When Lin Fan turned over, she found that the ground behind her was all cement, and if she rolled again, she would be out. She quickly supported herself with both hands, and kicked her feet, and turned over like a swallow, standing firmly on the cement ground. Although her feet were covered with dust, at least her clothes were saved. Lee Chun-hua stood on the steps at the door, and saw that the screams were interrupted. She clasped her hands, and shouted at Lin Fan, the lady has great kung fu. You screamed so early in the morning. Li Ma rushed out and kicked Lee Chun-hua in the butt. Seeing that he staggered and fell down the stairs, she quickly stood up and said unhappily, if you wake up when I will beat you to death. After that, she went into the house, leaving the door slowly closing. Brotherly, what are you making noise for so early in the morning? Gao Fei woke up with a start and got up immediately. Seeing that it was Lee Chun-hua who was making noise, he lay down again. Gu couldn't sleep anymore, so he got up and folded the blanket. I was making noise. You didn't see it. Lee Chun-hua pointed to where Lin Fan had just slept. and saw that Song Ren had sat up, and he raised his hair with one hand and opened his eyes to him. Lee Chun-ho was inexplicably scared, retracted his finger, and opened his mouth several times, but in the end he didn't say anything. Lin Fan had already washed his feet under the faucet in the yard and walked back lazily in slippers. Lee Chun-ho, Song Ren said lightly. Here. Lee Chun-ho's skin tightened, knowing that something bad was going to happen. Let's start the 5-kilometer run. Boss, we are on holiday. 10 kilometers, and 5 more kilometers. Song Ren felt a little wild when he just woke up and frowned, so Lee Chun-ho didn't dare to refuse. Yes. Lee Chun-ho went back to the room to change into sneakers and ran out without saying a word. Lin Fan looked at him, then at Song Ren, and then thought about the people in the room. Wouldn't it be bad to punish someone's son in front of his parents? She was a little nervous. How about we go run a few laps to hide? Gao Fei, who was still trying to sleep, suddenly came back to life. Sister, you are my real sister. But it was too late. Song Ren had already agreed. Since you said so, let's all go out and run a few laps. Chapter 775 Adopting Godparents. When they came back from running, breakfast was already on the table. Several people were sweating profusely, and their clothes were naturally soaked. After another round of showering and washing clothes, Lin Fan changed into the last set of clothes in her bag, the black t-shirt and shorts she wore on the day of the Airborne 800. Wearing shorts in summer is much cooler than wearing long pants, and the t-shirt she was wearing was also a little different. The U-shaped neckline was lower than the ordinary round neckline, revealing more skin under the collarbone, and it looked much more breathable than the tightly wrapped regular t-shirt. That's not all. When she turned around, the back collar opened deeper, all the way down to the middle of the butterfly bone, just revealing the perforation position when she transformed. This dress is slim but not close-fitting. It doesn't stick to the body like yoga clothes. On the contrary, there is a lot of room on both sides of the waist. The length is also shorter than ordinary t-shirts. It's not obvious when standing normally, but as long as you raise your arms, your white waist will be exposed, and the perforation position on the back waist will also be exposed. Although it was more exposed than regular clothes, it didn't show her cleavage. Moreover, there was a very popular game avatar printed on her chest. The oversized cartoon bird pattern made people not think of sexiness at all, but full of childishness. Lin Fan decided to buy this dress when she saw it for the first time. Such a daily dress suitable for transformation was tailor-made for her. Although the combat suit was good, she didn't like it very much. Maybe she didn't like tights, or maybe the combat suit had its own place buff. Once she put it on, she would unconsciously feel serious and stressed, making her unable to relax. So she tried not to wear it, unless it was necessary, and in formal occasions. But in daily life, there would be some sudden situations that required a short transformation. When not wearing combat suits, the loss rate of clothes was relatively high. Jeans were fine, they could be regarded as ripped fashion, but tops were not good, and the 2 holes on the back basically scrapped it. Like her current outfit, she could transform into a mecha to catch turtles in the sea, and she could go out and stroll on the street with nothing in her hands, doing whatever she wanted. Even if she encounters an emergency outside, she can find a hidden corner where no one is around to transform. She doesn't have to worry about the strange appearance of the combat suit attracting the attention of the crowd. It is so convenient. Lin Fan wore this outfit when she flew 800 kilometers. She put a badge on one side of her jeans pocket and a mobile phone on the other side. She was really traveling light. If she changed into a combat suit, she would have to bring replacement clothes with her. She would also have to be especially careful along the way to prevent her luggage from being touched by 3 hands. After all, that suit has too high a technological content and is very expensive. No matter how rich she is, she can't help but put pressure on herself. It is not good for her mental health. It's better to wear ordinary clothes, so she won't feel bad if it's torn or lost. When Huan-Yu saw the big cartoon on Lin Fan's chest, she arched her back and asked for someone else to hold her. Lin Fan didn't dare at first, fearing that she would hurt the baby if she didn't hold it properly. Shimao put the baby in her arms with a smile, and Lin Fan quickly reached out to hold it. After hugging it, she felt that the meatball in her hand was not as soft as she thought. Huan was also very well behaved. She lay on her shoulder without moving, just scratching the cartoon with her little hands, which made her feel a little relieved. Don't be afraid, Sister Lin. Shimao saw that Lin Fan was completely frozen and covered her mouth and laughed. Huan is more than 2 years old. Her bones are not as soft as when she was a baby. It's easy to hold her. Really? Haha. Lin Fan focused all his attention on his hands, feeling that he was not holding a baby, but a bomb. Lin Fan, you can't do this. Lee Chun-ho laughed happily, but was hit on the back of the head by Lee's mother. Eating can't stop your mouth. Lee Chun-ho covered the back of his head and felt aggrieved. Why can't he even speak after returning home? His mother doesn't like him, his wife doesn't like him, his daughter doesn't have eyes for him, and even his boss always glares at him. Lee Chun-ho sighed, turned his grief and anger into appetite, picked up the big bowl in front of him, and ate it crazily. Give it to me, you eat. Song Ren couldn't bear to see Lin Fan uncomfortable, so he reached out to take it. Lin Fan hurriedly sent Huan out, and breathed a sigh of relief when he got out. Huan struggled at first when she saw the cartoon moving away, but then she looked up at Song Ren, and after staring at each other for a few seconds, she lay on his shoulder obediently and didn't say a word. Oh, Huan is so young and knows how to be good with handsome guys. Lee's mother joked with a smile. Everyone looked over and laughed. Isn't it? Yesterday I was wondering why Huan was so good with Captain Song when they first met. Now that mom said that, it seems that girls love to be coquettish. Shimao continued with a smile. Then our daughter has really high standards, and it will be difficult to find a son-in-law in the future. Song Ren's face can beat a lot of young handsome men in the entertainment industry. Huan didn't like Gao Fei or Jiu, but she was good with him. Isn't she too picky? What son-in-law? Where did the son-in-law come from? Lee Chun-ho started to get crazy again. Our daughter is only 2 years old. Why is she looking for a son-in-law? Everyone knew it was a joke, and only Lee Chun-ho, the father, took it seriously. What? Why won't Yu get married in the future? Lee's mother couldn't bear to see her son being so stupid. He was obviously not so stupid before. People say that men become more mature and sensible after having children. Why did his son regress? What do you mean by getting married? I haven't loved my daughter enough. Lee Chun-ho saw Shimao pulling a chopstick towards him from the corner of his eye, but he still insisted. At worst, I can find a son-in-law to marry into the family. I won't let my daughter who I love so much marry out. Shimao's eyes were full of anger, and Lee's mother was even more annoyed. You. Just at this time, Lee's father came back. He went out early in the morning to buy things for the recognition ceremony, and his hands were full. Gao Fei and Jiu hurriedly got off the kang to take them. Lee's father looked up with a chuckle and saw that the atmosphere at the dinner table was not right. What's going on? Lee's mother said a few words, and Lee's father was silent for a long time. Finally, he gave up and looked at Lee Chun-ho and said to Lee's mother, you can listen to what he said if you can, and treat it as bullshit if you can't. Don't get angry over this stupid thing. It's not worth it. After hearing what the old man said, Lee's mother's anger subsided a lot, and she began to feel sorry for her son again, thinking that the old man's words were a bit harsh. As a result, she turned around and saw that Lee Chun-ho was still eating breakfast heartlessly. Well, Lee's mother patted her chest. Forget it, just listen to the old man. The recognition ceremony is very simple, but there are a lot of things to prepare. Lin Fan and his friends didn't understand anything and stood aside obediently to listen to Lee's father and mother's instructions. After the ceremony, the four took out the red envelopes and gold jewelry that had been prepared long ago and listened to Huan Yu's vague shouting of something, and then they all responded loudly and cooperatively. At this point, they officially became the godparents of Huan Yu Li Hujia. Several single men and women felt very novel about the sudden addition of a daughter, and even Jiu, who was always more aloof, always paid attention to Huan Yu. After holding the baby a few times, Lin Fan was no longer afraid of holding the baby. He would pick up the little tiger girl to play with her from time to time, kiss her sweet little face, and make her giggle. Song Ren even used his big move, taking advantage of his height, to lift the baby up high. But the tiger girl was very brave, and when she was lifted into the air, she laughed happier than ever, which surprised Gao Fei and Jiu, and they lined up to hold her up high. After Li Chunhua stayed at home with her daughter for 3 days, she finally found her conscience and took the 4 people to the mountains to catch birds in the river, to catch fish early on the 4th day. Lin Fan and Jiu had never experienced this when they were young, so they were so excited that they kept splashing in the water. They didn't catch many fish, but got their whole bodies soaked. Fortunately, the weather was hot, so they didn't have to worry about catching a cold. Lin Fan sat on a rock on the shore to rest and accidentally saw a piece of knotted and raised skin on the back of Song Yan's neck, which looked like a keloid. It was the organism of octopus. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.